Reveille, donks.
Look at us now, tip to tip. This is our life. This is our passion. That's the spirit we bring to this show.
I'm Luke Thomas.
I'm Brian Campbell.
This is Morning Kombat.
Oh, yeah. How good does it feel to hear that sound? Monday, July 1st, 2024, and we are back at it with an absolute bang. This is Morning Kombat, a show that was once award-winning, Luke, and is now, hanging on.
Yeah, it was award-winning, and now it's still going.
Yes.
That's about it.
Still going successfully. Back in your life here, Manhattan, Meadowlark Studio here. Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell. Hangover time from UFC 303, what went down Saturday in Las Vegas, International Fight Week. So much to talk about coming out of that. We have a very special guest at 12 Eastern time. Gilbert Burns, friend of the program, Luke, going to be talking to us ahead of his return against Sean Brady, and a lot to get into with.
Now, he did not respond to my...
Well, I'm sure Randy will be available if necessary.
Yeah, he didn't respond this morning when I reminded him, but
we'll see.
So he definitely, I'll say this, Gilbert Burns definitely agreed to be here at noon several days ago.
Okay.
Whether he'll be here, who's to say?
All right, we're going to find out. He showed up on Ariel's show probably soon. All right, there we go. All right. Speaking of Joanna going into the hall, congratulations to Double J there. Luke, also, we're going to have a great show looking back at the boxing over the weekend. Bam Rodriguez, as you said, we don't talk about him enough on this show.
That was the best fight of the weekend.
That was awesome.
Of anything that took place. I'm not saying it was the best KO, although it was a very good KO, body shot KO.
No, I mean, not better than Poatan's KO.
Poatan's KO was pretty great, but it was as an overall fight. Because the problem was the main event of UFC 303 was not competitive really at all.
But it saved the event. It saved the event.
When I say that, remember, I'm talking about the back and forth.
Yes.
It was just one way. How many significant strikes did Jiri Prochazka land on Saturday?
Maybe 3.
7 total.
Oh,
7.
Wow. Well, he has a lot to think about, Luke, about his future. You know?
Yeah, you know what? I get why he was sitting in a place, with no light, no food, and everything. Because I think he was feeling the ghosts of the first fight. I really do believe that.
Chama, baby. So much Chama.
Chama got to him a little. I can see why he was worried about black magic. He was overly preoccupied with what Alex could do to him, and you saw that reflected in his performance.
You know who would fuck him up too? Some white magic, okay? All right. Vitor Melnicki Jr.
Vitor Melnicki.
Jersey's finest. Hey, if you want to wear our merch, which Luke looking spectacularly young in this beautiful bomber jacket, I've got the old MK dad cap on. Why don't you go to morningkombat.store right now? Of course, if you want 10% off for members only, right? You can use our promo code LIVE10, RJ Dunkel, Gangbang. Reportedly, Luke is on the other end of the phone. Okay, reportedly, if you put in your order today, that man will package it and send it.
He will.
To you.
I actually touched base with him, so he is still working for us.
He's a young dad, that man.
That's right, and still collecting checks from us. I don't know who's paying him, but he's getting paid.
Okay. But, people want to always say, well, you guys own your own show now and you'll be, yeah, we're in charge of everything now.
Well, not even officially, not yet.
Well, not until we get through this legal issue, but outside of that.
Once we get through this legal issue that we're having, then we will be in control. But right now we don't.
Yeah, you know who said that often too was Cosby in the last few years. You know what I mean? But now he's a free man, right?
Yeah, well, also I'll say this is, well, no, I won't say that because I don't want to get us fired.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Gonna have a great show for you today. Have you seen this shit? All that and then some. Tall, pale, and handsome. It is your boy BC. Follow us on the socials right there. Thank you. Shout out to our great team. Long Island Luke back from Cancun. Can we hear your voice today, Long Island Luke?
How we doing, boys?
There he is. Do you think he did illicit drugs in Cancun or just like regular, like street drugs?
I mean, anything that piece of shit can get his hands on, I think he did.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You guys know me well.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
Not hard to predict.
Also, I have to get that Mike Tyson bong into the hands of this.
It's going wasted in your hands as an absolute
It's very big.
Because you don't smoke flour.
I don't. So I'm not going to bring it on the subway. It's so big. It's every piece that they sell. It's student glass. We're going to review it. We're going to go ham on it. I'll just have to get it into your possession. But then I know you'll put it in the corner of your room and never open it. That's the Luke Thomas way, You'll get
oh no, I'll use
You'll
that.
get this hot food delivered. You'll be like, you know what? I wonder if this will taste better in 2 hours, but there's a good chance I'll never taste it. Let's take
I mean,
the
if
gamble.
people could stop serving their food the temperature of lava, I would eat it when they served it.
Okay, all right. There you go. There you go. Luke Thomas, everybody. Great to be back at it. Am I missing anything else?
Hey, you know whose movies I've been watching recently? I'm going to guess you haven't seen it.
Hiro Matsuda.
No, that's not a person that I'm aware of.
Oh, sorry. He broke Hulk Hogan's leg on his first day of wrestling practice. He taught him the N-word. Probably taught
have
him
you
the
ever
N-word,
heard of Hayao Miyazaki?
You mean the guy from Raid and Raid 2?
No.
Oh.
He's the guy who made My Neighbor Totoro, Ponyo, Castle in the Sky,
Oh, yeah.
Spirited Away, The Boy and the Heron. Have you seen any of these movies?
Not a single one.
So do you
Is
have
he like the Steven Seagal of Japan?
what? These are all cartoons or animated features.
Oh,
anyway.
then you know what? I'm out.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm not much of a
I didn't realize MK had an anime section. You know
So he is so unique. He's beyond unique. This guy. I had never discovered his. I had never seen his movies, and then I wanted to watch something. It's all, they have a bunch of them on the. Do you have HBO or Max? Do you
I
have the
do
Max
have.
app?
I do have Max. Yes.
I don't know if all of his movies are on there, but there's a documentary about him on there, and then a bunch of his movies are on there. Dude, this was like a revelation to me this past week. I watched like 5 of these movies. I could not believe how good they were. Shocked.
Wow.
I'm blown away.
better
really,
than
really
better
good.
than Kurosawa.
No, I mean, they're different. I mean, some of them are a little bit more geared towards children. Some of them are not, but they're animated features. And I just have the creativity and the uniqueness of them all is so next level. It's incredible.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, Chef's Kiss.
There
That's
it
right.
is. Open mouth. There you go. All right, that's enough absolute bullshit. Let's get into
Bullshit.
our show. And it all went down with topic number 1. Saturday, IFW, Las Vegas, UFC 303. Some years, most years, the crown jewel of the summer. Conor McGregor not on this card. Alex Pereira stole the show, saved the day, all that. But there is a lot more to talk about that we'll get into, from Dan Ige getting up off the couch and saving the co-main event. But in that main event, the light heavyweight champion did what he does, figures you out, and knocks you the frick out. It was extra violent that he went with the high kick to get rid of Jiri Prochazka in their rematch. Wow. So he's putting together title defenses now in a second weight class. He's talking about heavyweight, and we will get into that. But Luke, through 9 fights, I mean, what are you going to say about Alex Pereira? What he has done, how unique his legacy is, it's largely unmatched. But if it's not black magic, what is his secret sauce? Because he is at the top of his game right now. And what we saw on Saturday, it seemed above the normal knockout performance. It seemed virtuoso. It's not quite Anderson Silva front kicking Belfort, but he's getting to a level that I never thought he'd get at. What is it, Chama, that makes this guy so unique and special?
We talked about it a little bit last week, which is that he is something like a Donald Cerrone, except he wins all of the big ones in ways that, you know, Cerrone got, and it wasn't just him. There was Chris Lytles who did something like this too, not at this level, but they would take on these, you know, short notice assignments or difficult assignments. They'd fight balls out, and you didn't really care if they won or lost. I mean, you did a little bit. You
He's not taking the damage they were, though. These are kind of like journeyman brawlers.
No. Well, there's many differences. You're certainly right. But what I'm trying to point out is, yeah, you wanted Cerrone to win, but it wasn't a big deal if he didn't necessarily win them all. The difference, I should say, with this guy, with Pereira, is he's winning them all. We talked about that last week, but I was watching this, BC. I mean, here's what's kind of amazing. Short notice. Remember, he had come from Australia because he was doing seminars there. So we're talking about like the most maximal change to your circadian rhythms on short notice. He had the broken toe/toes from the previous situation, and he was giving an opponent who may or may not have kind of felt like the stoppage was a little bit premature. In the first one, I know he said he was out, but there was some controversy about it, giving him a second crack to get after him. And it actually got much worse for him in the end. Everything you thought that could have tripped him up, it only elevated him. He's 36 years old. He'll be 37 July 7th. He is continuing to get better. He is so good and so unique, BC, that he's actually kind of forcing us, not just him, it's not only him, but he's forcing us to reevaluate what it means to have MMA greatness. If you actually asked people who are the top 5 fighters in no particular order, most people are going to say something like Jones, GSP, Silva, Demetrius Johnson, maybe you throw Aldo in there, something like that.
Can we give love to Fedor or no?
You could potentially give love to Fedor as well. Something like that.
Sure.
But what do all 5 of them have in common? Some of them have extra titles in another weight class, but the real common denominator is that they were dominant in a single weight class over a very long period of time. That was the model of success. That was the model of greatness. And that's always been the model for a very long time. Well, here comes Alex Pereira, who is not the best middleweight currently on the roster or have the best middleweight resume. That's not the case. And he certainly is the best light heavyweight right now, but he doesn't have the all-time best light heavyweight resume. But when you add up the totality of everything he's doing, it's this ability to just kind of jump from, lily pad to lily pad, collecting these belts, collecting these achievements, doing it with, with significant impediments to normal success in the MMA game. Conor McGregor was really the first one by becoming champ at the same time to really do this, never really defending either of those titles, right? But still, nevertheless, look at how big he's gotten. Alex Pereira he has inherited that mantle from Conor McGregor. He's that guy in MMA now. It was Mystic Mac. Now it's Shama Poatan. He's picking up the baton from him and then remixing it for his generation, his weight class, his time, and it's messing with everyone's perception because you've just really not seen someone do something like this in this particular weight class in particular.
And for as much as a lot of the presentation of Poatan, and he's really the last couple fights really ratcheted up the character. Now we know the predictable movements of what he does, like the trademark, all of that moving on that. It comes across as authentic, even though it's very superhero-like. It's very much a tribute to his roots in Brazil and the native people there and all that. But that can be a cheesy gimmick in a hurry, and he pulls it off so authentically and is able in his sort of organic, accidental superstardom takeover to be both completely humble in this babyface way, or you could be a fan of him because he's an absolute badass and he gets into these fights with people who are talking all this trash like Jamal Hill. And Luke, I don't think I've seen somebody be as poised and cold in the way he gets people out of there. McGregor was cold, but it was always a monster, bigger than life celebration. Dude, Pereira has villain at the end of a video game vibes, only he's also the hero. I don't think I've seen that combination at the same time. So it doesn't even matter that he doesn't speak English. He's literally becoming the face of the franchise. But here's what the spirit of my question was asking you, how to actually describe what separates him from everybody. Because in theory, it's ridiculous that he's erased the normal gaps of what his lack of experience can hold him back from achieving coming to this sport so late. It would be takedown defense. It would be it would be too easy to expose him in that area. So it's not just Luke that he's made a well-rounded approach to essentially not make mistakes out there. And even the one mistake he made against Adesanya in this ultimate comeback moment, he just picked it up like nothing happened and got right back there in a new division, started beating Hall of Fame killers one after another. So what is it? Because he doesn't get exposed on the ground, he's able to operate at this extreme high level. What is it about the kickboxing, the timing, the poise? Is it the demeanor? What is the special sauce that's making it feel like this guy is unbeatable, even though you can obviously point out flaws or areas of his game that are not up to the same level?
So let's go over what happened between the first and second fight, and maybe this will help answer your question. In the first fight, there were two big things that really got Jiri making it competitive. In fact, in the first fight, at least numerically, he outstruck Pereira. Obviously not qualitatively, but numerically he did. He landed more significant strikes. But the first fight, he had good pressure up against the fence. That was one. And he had a good takedown, which enabled him to win basically the first round.
Good point, yes.
First of all, let's talk about the takedown. In this particular fight, the first fight, he went for a standing arm in guillotine rather than fighting the high crotch takedown, and he got lifted and put on his back for it. This time, he fought the takedown from beginning to end very carefully and even got his back off the fence. So as I said before, he's going to be 37. He's still improving, and here was a decent test of his wrestling, which he passed completely.
So is that the Glover Teixeira effect, or is that just Poatan's next level?
Well, he clearly has a natural aptitude for it, but the Glover mentorship seems to be fast forwarding everything in a way that is unusual for progress.
No one's been able to close their holes when switching sports that quickly and demonstratively.
But it's more than that, and this is the second part. It's one thing to be like, oh, he's got great striking, let's just work on the wrestling. but there's more to the story. The pressure the first time really got Pereira backing up. And remember, when he got up against the fence, there were several punches that landed from Jiri that caused him big problems. This time, what did you notice? As Jiri would try to make these blitzes and he goes from low to high like this, right, all the time, you saw Pereira slip off and then counter over the top, slip and then counter, slip and roll and then counter. So his MMA striking is now adapting to deal with pressure because he has to know that's going to be a case with Prochazka and subsequent opponents. And even that is improving. Even that is getting better. We're talking about a guy who might be 37 numerically, again, on July 7th. But you're looking at someone who is a natural-born fighter who just so happens to have exactly the right mentorship and has swooped into MMA post-Conor McGregor at just the right time to pick off big game all along the way, and it has electrified the sport in a way that, since the pandemic anyway, I'm not sure anybody else really has.
And there's no like unique comparison because what he's doing is so unique and what he's accomplished so quickly that there's no real direct comparison. Like there's parts of this that are Lesnar-like, but there's no comparison there. Maybe Holly Holm is a good comparison, but yet she really was never able to build on that Rousey moment. She was maintained. The longevity was a big part of why she'll go in as a Hall of Famer, rightfully so, on the UFC side as well, and already in the Boxing Hall of Fame. But he's already doubled down on that because of what he's done now in 2 divisions and all of that. But he was a Glory Kickboxing Hall of Famer before he made his UFC debut, not just a 2-division champion.
Yes.
And he's taken to this like nothing. So there has to be an extra level to his preparation, to his IQ. And I want to play this clip from post-fight of how he talked about how he set up that high kick and the knockout blow and the video he watched that gave it to him. And maybe this does show you that the Glover effect is real, but also this is a next level student here. Let's listen to him.
And the high kick that you landed, did you come off the stool in a second knowing you were going to throw that, or was it just something you saw at the moment?
O chute na cabeça, entre o segundo e o primeiro round, você já foi pro segundo round pensando em chutar na cabeça?
Desde no vestiário eu já tinha isso em mente, né? Estava conversando com o Plínio, ele estava mostrando ali o aquecimento dele e eu vi ele simulando, né? Na hora de tomar esse chute nas pernas, estava saindo ali, mas eu até comentei com o Plínio, eu falei, pô, o tempo é diferente, não sei se ele vai conseguir sair, até consegui chutar ele bem ali, mas eu também falei pro Plínio que ele está muito preocupado com o chute nas pernas e está deixando a parte da cabeça, pô, meio exposto e dá para pegar ali. Então eu vi isso antes e foi tudo certo.
No, actually, I was in the locker room talking to Plinio, my coaches, and he showed me the video of Jiri warming up, and I saw that he was trying to counter-attack the calf kick, defend and counter. But I told Plinio that he was doing the wrong timing. The timing was not good. So I saw that he was too focused on not taking that kick, and he was keeping his hands down and leaving the head, the head exposed. So I told him, I said, I'm going to explore the high kick.
Luke, this leads me into my critical question here. I want to give Pereira all the praise, and that video seems to spell out that IQ-wise, he's also next level. Finding a warm-up video of Jiri in the locker room live going, oh, look at the way he's overcommitting there and looking in the wrong spot. So was this victory a full showcase of all those superlatives we just talked about that make Poatan such a unique star and champion? Or was this Prochazka's reckless style catching up with him again, only even worse?
So the story of this fight, as best I can tell, is I've already told you about the improvements that Pereira made, but there's another component here. So in the first fight, Jiri went back and forth, southpaw and orthodox, but he was mostly orthodox until he got his legs battered, and then he went a little bit southpaw, and then he basically, there was the ground, and then he got, it was a little bit more mixed, but he was trying to go southpaw to account for the leg kicks. In this particular context, he opens up in southpaw thinking, okay, I'm going to take away the leg kicks to begin with, except it didn't work. Pereira was able to shut down the value of the southpaw stance by leg kicking him, by jabbing over the top, by going underneath. And once Jiri realized, well, shit, I can't do a whole lot from this stance, I'm still getting touched up, he would go back, the leg kicks continued, and all the problems continued. Then he tries to pressure, and now he's getting slipped and countered by Pereira. So it's like, here's the thing. He brought this up being like, oh, we saw this on the IG thing, and I'm sure that they did. I don't have any doubt. But Prochazka's hands are down all the fucking time. They're always down. When he got dropped in the first fight, look at his hands. When he got dropped at the end of the first round, look where his hands are. When he gets dropped in this fight by the head kick, look where his hands are. His hands are down constantly. So that absolutely plays a role here. But the point I want to make is there were a lot of doors that Jiri wanted to open to start this fight, to reset the terms of it, and all of them got slammed in his face.
Yes.
So then, to your point, did his reckless style catch up with him? Well, when he had no other answers to go to, yes, it did. But it's only because Pereira shut down all the avenues he believed were going to be there.
I mean, look, Prochazka's story is just as crazy as Pereira in the limited number of fights that he came into, got a title shot, won a title, didn't lose that in the cage, lost it because of injury, but now has lost to back-to-back title shots. That did expose potentially the need for change. But don't let my keyboard warrior ass tell you. Let's hear from Prochazka himself, who put out a very honest post-fight video that does ask a very interesting question that only he can answer.
Hello everyone. Thank you for all your support. Thanks to you, Alex, for the fight. It was better. And only one thing goes on my mind, that I need to evolve to the next level, or don't fight again. So it's simple. To be the strongest, this is the way. Thank you. See you in the gym.
Luke, the Prochazka-Lorian is right. This is the way. The only way to stay at the title level is to evolve. But he's talking about all or nothing. Evolve or get out of the sport. Is it in him? He's only had, 4 or 5 UFC fights. He's still relatively young enough in a division that does allow you to age gracefully. Do you see this guy fixing these holes, or is it these holes that make him extra dangerous, kind of like Johnny Walker in a way, although he's more skilled, you would say, or more dangerous? But, like, can you change his spots, Luke? This old-ass dog, can he learn some new tricks? I would have questions about a Johnny Walker type. What do you think about a Prochazka type?
I am skeptical, but I don't know. I feel like his style is just baked in at this point. This is just kind of what you're going to get. This is where he is. This is what it looks like. I definitely think he can tighten some things up.
Yeah, but work with a high guard. We'll figure out how to work that in more, right?
But, well, no, because he likes to go low to high. So you have to take away a lot of the weapons that he has been relying on that, to his point, have worked against just about everybody else.
It'll declaw him if he tries too hard.
But it's going to declaw him if he tries too hard. So I kind of feel like it's not correct to say that Prochazka is overrated. That's not true, because he has the ability to overcome. He's a physical beast, and he has been very, very durable. But I will say this. He is fatally flawed. He is fatally flawed. The amount of difficulty that he has, and the amount of friction he has baked in to his style at this point, I mean, you'd be throwing the baby out with the bathwater too. That's what helps him get over the hump against all these other guys. The question that comes up is, should he go to heavyweight, or is it even possible to go to middleweight? I know, remember, he's teased that before. That seems kind of interesting. I don't know what that would do necessarily, but
him at heavyweight, he'd be quick. He'd be very quick.
And he's athletic as shit. He's very athletic, and he's very powerful too. Like, he's got some real physical traits, and he's got some ability.
What if he worked more of a high kick in?
Yeah, sure. I think that would help a lot. Like, getting to the leg kicks himself and setting it up. But the problem is he's got such an open, off-balance style.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with that style is you can actually get pretty far. And he got to a title level with it, BC. You saw that. However, once it becomes unglued, it's very hard to put back together.
And it can become unglued by people figuring you out, or it can become unglued by you becoming physically unglued from taking to. Jarrett Hurd in boxing, right?
Yes.
Making fight of the years, beating Arislandi Lara, you're like, oh shit, he's a steam train. He's not as skilled as everybody else. But Luke, eventually that train, if you can't keep feeding it,
yes,
and you accrue that damage, that's interesting. All right, back to Poatan to close, and this is the big one. He reiterates afterwards that, yeah, he wants to go to heavyweight. He's not done trying to be great and figuring out what his ceiling is. A third division champion, the holy grail. He wants it. Turns out Joe Rogan really wants it, echoing a lot of fans, not all fans, but echoing a lot of fans and almost pushing that agenda on the broadcast. Let's hear from Dana White. Here's part of him talking about post-fight, the possibility, what he thinks about it, and the mindset of Poatan for asking this, and we'll debate it on the other side.
A lot of people are saying Alex Pereira at heavyweight is awfully intriguing. I know we got Jones and Stipe, we got Aspinall and Blades.
I'm standing up there with the belt, and I had Joe Rogan in my ear the whole time we were up there. Let him fight heavyweight. Come on. Just do it. So I know that's what people want to see. We'll see how this whole thing plays out. I'll fight wherever you want, whenever you want. He's ready to turn around and wants to fight again right away. So he's that guy. He's a savage, man. The guy's an absolute stud. And not to mention the fact that he's a smart guy and realizes time isn't your friend in this game. And get in there, accomplish as many great things as you can. Like you guys were saying, whoever said it earlier, look at what a huge star he's become in such a short amount of time, because people in the fight business love guys who want to fight, love guys who want to finish, love guys who want to compete. As a fight fan, he's like the ideal fighter that you would follow and become a fan of.
Okay, that quote from Dana makes it seem like him and I are aligned, that this is potentially the best story in all of MMA. The idea of Pereira, who seemed to be the bridesmaid in the larger story of Adesanya's arc, right? As Chuck Mindenhall pointed out to us ahead of their first fight in MMA, maybe this is really the Poatan story. Oh, it really is the Poatan story. It's in fact so much the Poatan story, this intriguing character / breakout elite pound for pound future all-time great superstar who has this window now to do something that no one's ever done and seems to be the perfect sort of company man who will bail you out last minute and deliver big performances on short notice, fight through 2 broken toes when Conor McGregor just pulled out with 1. It shows you how he's wired. Dana saying in those comments, like, yeah, he seems to be that type of person that's sort of perfect for an opportunity like this. Then Dana comes out with these comments later in the press conference that say, it's not that I'm not into it. The guy was a middleweight, then moves up to light heavyweight. He's had a couple fights there, defended his title, but it's not like this guy's been in the division for 2 years and he run through everybody in that division. If he cleared out a division and we were like, there's literally nobody left for this guy to fight and he's 37, if he wants to move up to heavyweight, well, we'll let him. But that's not the case, White said. So, Luke, this is where I think it does come down to the debate of who UFC is right now. Are they the content-filling machine that has a certain amount of dates and has to fill them no matter what? Or are they the opportunistic promoter they once were? Like they're trying to be with the Sphere, right? Like no stones left unturned in how big this Sphere show is going to be. Well, they, in my opinion, have this great story that you may not even need John Jones for. As much as I've been talking about Pereira versus John Jones, forget it, the 3 division title, maybe Pereira's the GOAT if he knocks out John Jones in there and does that, which is unthinkable. I don't even think you actually need John Jones in this because I think Pereira's story is so unique, so interesting, so refreshing. Why in hell would Dana White and company look at the landscape and go, we could go this way right now, but you know what? Instead, let's bring on Ankalaev. Let's do a couple more 170 or 205 title defenses first. What am I missing here? Because after what he just did to Prochazka and made it look even easier after, like we said, a somewhat debated stoppage the first time around, and Poatan was kind of losing the fight before he wasn't the first time around. Well, he fixed that glitch. What else would he have to do? He just saved the 2 biggest cards of the year. Saved them, literally. What else would he have? Like, why would you not, John Jones or not, do Aspinall versus Poatan in a Brazilian soccer stadium or a London football stadium? Just do it, right? Just do it.
So, I mean, Poatan's in an interesting position. He is, as I've said before, he's the first guy since John Jones gave up the title in 2020 to bring order to this division. He's the first one to get multiple now consecutive title defenses going, right? So
you could say Jan Blachowicz tried that. He came close.
He only had 1 defense.
Okay, well he had a nice hard blip on the radar, a nice hard one.
Hard blip, but just that.
All right.
This what Pereira is doing is not by length of title reign, but by somebody clearly being the best. Blachowicz could perform well on enough nights to get pretty far, and that's not nothing. But this guy seems like categorically better. That's the first thing I'd say. Second thing I'd say is, with this guy, you've now got 2 of the biggest fights you can make in all of MMA. If Izzy ends up beating DDP, Izzy and Pereira 5, or however you want to describe
At 205.
At 205, with Izzy trying to get champ status, would be a mega fight.
So do you think that's the number? Is that your number one counter reason why am I emotional? Just give Poatan what he wants. It makes sense. He's your guy.
Not necessarily. Because
is it the Adesanya fight that is your number one reason why it might not?
Not necessarily. In fact, no. Because the other big fight that you could make, and I think this is actually maybe outside of anything McGregor does, the biggest fight you could make in all of MMA, John Jones versus Poatan. If for some reason the winner of Aspinall Blades couldn't fight, and for some reason Stipe Miocic, who, by the way, now with the departure of Andrei Arlovsky, has no wins against anybody currently on the UFC roster, if for some reason he wasn't available and they just made John Jones versus Poatan, what kind of numbers would it do? It would probably do 1 million buys, which is very, very difficult to pull off. So
it would actually make us stop talking about Francis Ngannou and doing some type of crossover thing.
It absolutely would.
It would.
For at least for a little while.
Yeah.
And by the way, if Poatan won that, I mean, just completely, it would just shatter everything. But the point I wanted to make about all of this is, so no, to your point, they actually have strong incentive to do that. But the biggest incentive they have is to keep the calendar flowing on schedule. And I realized they just had a light heavyweight title defense, but Ankalaev has been waiting in the wings. He is the number one contender pretty clearly. So I think what really matters to them is, yes, would they love to have a big fight in a novel division kind of way? Not a novel division, but, Poatan going up in a third weight class for a title. But what they really care about is keeping the train on the tracks and keeping the trains leaving the station on time. And so for that reason, I think what they would rather do is just let this guy continue to defend his light heavyweight title if he can. And then later, if it doesn't impede the schedule too much, then we can do it.
Don't you hate that they're working from that center point now?
I know, but they don't want to get to a point where they're going to have both interim titles at heavyweight and light heavyweight by messing around.
So you're
too
saying
much.
because it would hold up the normal flow of the title processes that we've already built, the structure, it would kind of mess it up too much. But I don't know, it sort of aligns with, in my opinion, not just the post 300 hangover, which has been everything that's happened since 300 before this weekend has felt like a monster step down, but like, I want to be fired up again for a big fight and a big rivalry or a big opportunity. So like Ilia Topuria has maybe the biggest moment of this year against Volkanovski. But I'm like, what's happened since? What have they done to parade this guy around the globe to show you that he's their next big thing? Why are we not already announcing a Max versus Ilia fight and already doing press tours? Like, I want to get back to that old days of when UFC's first job was to promote that one big night and that one big event. I know Dana's constant gripe against boxing is, oh, it's all going out of business sales, every single fight, every single night. It's all one night only. But it's kind of becoming what UFC is, Luke, because UFC 300 was so much one night only and overpacking that card that it killed the next 2 months in terms of balance of the cards. And now they work so hard just to repair and keep 303 on the tracks on Saturday that you kind of needed that Poatan finish just to save that from being a monumental, loss in terms of entertainment. And now Connor's not going to fight this summer. Shouldn't you attack these lightning rods when these opportunities are there and turn fights around quick and start to build that storyline? There is even though it's not pro wrestling, there is an element of promotion and storytelling when done right in the combat sports space, like Pride used to do. And I noticed that when we did the Fedor, what do we call it? Resume review behind the music thing, where every fight, all the broadcast was always leaning you toward what's next. And it's always building hot fire, molten lava. I feel like there is a couple rivalries, fighters, title situations atop these divisions that could be and should be the face of what's going on in the sport. I'm sick of this content creation era. I'm sick of this. Well, that would be a great idea, but we do have these dates to fill, son. So Ankalaev, get up next. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
and that fight's great. It's not that fight in particular I'd be upset against, but why would you wait? The window's there. Why would you wait? This guy could be the greatest of all time. If we don't know, this guy actually could be the greatest of all time. But we're going to keep the door open for John and Stipe in a fight that doesn't matter.
I'll be honest. I disagree with you today.
Bring it.
It's not that I don't want to see Jones versus Poatan. I would love to see it. I think a lot of people would love to see it. However, you've already got a situation at heavyweight that is unenviable. Now, it's of their own creation in not, in making a fight. Dude, like that's the thing. They've already got this absolutely, let's just call it what it is. John Jones versus Stipe Miocic is a gigantic waste of everyone's fucking time.
Yeah, it arguably was last November, but I defended it all year later. Are you kidding me?
It's a stupid fight that doesn't mean a fraction of what they want you to believe it means. And you've got this unresolved interim title situation, which we'll get some resolution to this weekend, but even then, not really, because the winner still just remains the interim champion, waiting for November and then waiting for that winner to do whatever. And by the way, if Miocic somehow does the impossible,
it's not this weekend.
Sorry, this month.
Yeah.
If he does the impossible, well, then we're right back to the same situation. So I think they have to pick their battles a little bit. They've already got this mess they have to unfuck. Creating another one by then inserting Poatan into that mess before it's resolved, I think damages the nearby division at light heavyweight. I don't know how good of an idea that is.
But back to my point about Dana criticizing boxing for doing one night going out of business
Dude,
sales.
Dana's boxing criticisms are so disingenuous and false.
Isn't Noche becoming another one night albatross going out of business thing that even if it's awesome, and I hope it is, what is going to be sacrificed in the cards before and after that as well? We are already in an unexplainable year of watered down week-to-week cards, like to a gross level. And as much as I'm about to tell you topic 2, we're going to celebrate Dan Ige getting off the couch. At the same time, it's like Ige had to get off the couch because of injuries. That's not their fault, or because taking their eye off the ball in very key areas. How many people paid monster money to go to that card and got that card on Saturday with a lot of overweight people that, yeah, they were warriors and they came in on last minute, but then we saw basically sparring matches there. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm watching this ship get closer to the iceberg down there, and I feel like nobody else is like caring, because on the ship we got Trump and the house band's rocking, and we just love being UFC fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I wrong? Am I this bitter, crazy old podcast guy that's getting moved out as new media is coming in? Or am I speaking the conscious right now of MMA?
I don't know, because I definitely agree Jones versus Poatan isn't just lucrative at the box office. I think fans would, if you asked fans, what would you rather see, for example? What would you rather see, John Jones versus Stipe or John Jones versus Poatan? They would tell Stipe to go to the glue factory and sub in Poatan in an instant. I don't think there'd be any debate about that, but they're pot committed at this point. I really believe they kind of look into the situation and they realize we've got to solve, we have to untie this Gordian knot that we have. And then after that, I think they can play around with it. But I think if you just keep playing with, like, we're just going to make this one and sure, we'll try that.
Okay, but stop. As much as I just chided them, is chided the word? As much as I just, got on them for not doing enough storytelling, too much storytelling in real fight promotion is a problem. They're doing too much storytelling by sticking to the Jones versus Stipe script that a year later it doesn't matter. Go back to being the viral promoter who takes advantage of the opportunities when they're there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because you could say, well, BC, you're talking like a casual. You're selling out for one night. You're trying to get them to throw all this money into one night and forget about the rest. No, I'm trying to get them to stop forgetting about the rest, because what causes the viral movements in a sport, Luke, where it's on fire? It's not a well-matched card top to bottom, week to week. It's stars, like super breakout stars, the Rouseys, the Lesners, the Connors, the whatever, or it's rivalries, Jones DC, it's, Habib Connor, it's stuff like that. I feel like there are players on this chessboard.
Oh, I see what you mean.
That can be greater illuminated.
So what they're really not doing, and I think this is true, is in general, they're not building fights very carefully and slowly and methodically over time between two people that, to your point, have rivalries, a relationship with one another. We had a chance, for example, to do the Dublin press conference, and they didn't do that. And so there was this chance to, I realized that they did the Ultimate Fighter together, but that didn't really.
Yeah, it was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was exactly. It wasn't electrically charged anyway. And what you're talking about is, why don't we get back to that? Why don't we get back to making organic matchmaking built around these identities, built around these guys on hot streaks, rather than, okay, here you are in the assembly line.
Because
let's plug you into your slot. But here's the problem.
Because I wanted to say one thing. Hold on.
Okay.
We just had a conversation off camera. We were talking about DC, Daniel Cormier, how much we love him, respect his fight game and who he fought and all that. And you were like, I wonder if the new fans, like, don't even know how great he was and think he's just that, like, fat guy announcer who got hung out to dry by the WWE in that referee shirt at that time, which would be a crime. But that shows you how quickly the churn of new fans are. that right now they've sort of created this UFC lifestyle, very right-wing leaning, and this very like outlaw lifestyle. And it's almost like people want to buy the brand, right? But new fans are created like hot fire when it's more about rivalries or that transcendent superstar.
Okay, so the challenge
so
to
buy
this,
in
so again,
and fan those flames.
This
right?
is what I keep trying to tell MMA fans, which they are very resistant to understanding. They're going to learn, but it's going to take them the long and hard way because they're choosing to learn the hard way. I'm going to ask it one more time. Not one more time. I'm going to ask it many more times, but certainly one more time here today. Show me the monopoly over time that got better about one more time. Show me the monopoly over time that got better about serving their consumers' interests. It doesn't exist. They only get worse over time. This is a monopoly.
Well, then, here's what I'm telling you. Then sell.
BC, let me finish, please.
Sell.
Let me finish. So we are back to a situation where the business model in play is dictating promoter preferences here. And I don't know what to tell people about it, except if you're a fan, you have to vote with your dollars.
Yeah.
Because as long as they can get them easy and doing it on the assembly line, the kind of imagination that you're calling for is just going to be few and far between.
And it's not, by the way, oh, you guys have such an axe to grind. You spend every week finding another way to dunk on Dana. This is also our livelihood. The same people that say, oh, you guys should be happy because Dana creates your livelihood. Yeah, we want a vibrant product that we can talk about week to week. And when we
they've got a vibrant star in Poatan. If they keep him active,
if
they keep him active, it's not like they're going to be suffering. And also, by the way, sorry, Poatan versus Ankalaev is not a bad fight.
No,
it's not a bad fight.
If you feel like the Adesanya fight is the thing that they have in their long-term view that they think is more realistic or better than the heavyweight route, then I do have to pull back on that. That's just what it is. Okay.
All right. Let's get to the co-main event if we can. So Dan Ige fills in on what, an hour or two
I
short
think it was
notice?
technically 4 from when he first found out. When he first was asked taking a nap on the couch.
An hour's notice is what we're talking about here. Brian Ortega fell out of the co-main event with an illness. Dan Ige, quite literally off the couch or the massage table. I think he was getting a sports massage at the time. Comes in and then fights Diego Lopez, losing a unanimous decision, but having a nice third round where he clearly won that ultimately at a 165-pound catch weight. BC, let's just start with the basics. How insane is Ige? And 2, I don't think anybody hated the fight, but should it have been regulated in the way that it was?
We had a lot of questions, like journalistically, and I do give the UFC credit for showing you the videos and pictures of them on the scales. Actually, having Megan O'Leary interview the commission,
Jeff Mullen,
that's the most transparent we've seen them in a while on something like this. The fact that they went right to that, whether that was ESPN dictated or UFC or whatever, it was perfect. Okay, but you started off. What should we say about Dan Ige? I mean, he's a freaking warrior. He's the definition of it. The guy they're lucky that this guy lived in the city, had a fight scheduled for July 20th, was peaking in that fight camp and feeling like $1 million, like he was on top of his game and healthy for the first time in a long time. And we saw, Luke, ultimately the leaked sort of text message or DMs between him and Hunter Campbell just going after it. So what can you say about Luke? It's crazy. We've lauded before people like Chris Lieben turning things around, Donald Cerrone on, week, 6 days notice and winning 2 fights. And sometimes that takes so much out of you. I mean, this guy saved a co-main event. And to your point, actually rallied in the 3rd round and rallied so much that I actually think there's a side argument to make about did Diego Lopez gassing out kind of take air out of his balloon? But I also have to say, Luke, the whole time, it was very heavy. Okay, what I loved about it was like the Bushido element. Did you feel that after the fight? That it almost didn't matter? Because in reality, the fight didn't matter. It was a featherweight bout between guys ranked between 10 and 15 that's supposed to produce somebody going to the top 10. And it's also 2 very good names. But the circumstances and the fact that Lopez gassed out in the 3rd, like it wasn't a great representation. It was Band-Aid together and held together. I did love the Bushido element of everybody being a family afterwards. Did you notice that? Like everybody's more about, we did this moment together. Thank you for that. It was more kind of about the love of the sport, and everybody from the fans to the promoters to people sitting at home like Ige were able to almost partner together to save this great event. Love that. But was it a little too heavy-handed on like Anik saying these 2 are legends and these 2's names will be linked in history? Luke, I felt like sadly enough, like 6 months from now, if I ask you who was the co-main event of International Fight Week, you're not even going to remember. And I don't want that to take away from what Ige accomplished. So what does this say about Ige? That he is that dude, that he is about that life. And that's great. But it also says something about fighter pay and the sport and where we are. And we also got a fight that was sort of second rate of what we were originally offered, which was a second rate replacement, a good one, but still second rate of a fight that was replaced of a other fight that fell apart with Anthony Smith 18 times where he almost fell into a title shot somehow. It was a card full of that. We can talk about Diaz and Anthony Smith look like two chubby guys in a sparring match at some points in that.
If you're the UFC, let me ask you this, because this is really what it comes down to. So you're the UFC and you find out a couple of hours before the start of the show that Brian Ortega is not competing. You have two choices, two basic choices. You can try and fill in on short notice somebody, and they got Dan Ige, or you can obviously just punt and declare that off, and then you can just move another fight off the main card. You could have put, like, for example, Joe Pyfer. You could have put on the main
Which
card.
we would have ripped them worse, right? We would have said like
I don't know that we would have.
Would we have said that obviously the injuries are not their fault, and they're not, and obviously credit to them for how quickly they can make things like this happen. But my larger thing is the product being watered down and spread so thin that this is the beginning of a chronic leak that is not going to be fixed until you potentially bring the model in a little bit more, which they won't because of how much money they can get from that.
Right.
Are those two connected? Does this play into BC being that angry old journalist?
It is certainly connected. I don't think there's any denying that. However,
Because if Poatan doesn't knock him out, and if that is a somewhat boring decision, what does this show Monday morning start and open with? You know what I mean?
Right.
Do we open with, man, that dumpster fire on Saturday that you made lemonade, but we're doing this kind of every weekend now?
So I mean, let's go back to the first question here, which is, should they have regulated it? I'm gonna say that in general they should not regulate stuff like this. And when I say not regulate, I mean not approve it. In this particular case, I didn't mind it because Ige is exactly the right candidate to fill in for something like this.
That was perfect. Yes.
He's experienced. He's against high-level opposition. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He was already in camp. He was local. His medicals were already done because he has the fight coming up in, I guess, approximately 3 weeks at this point. Like, he's exactly the kind of guy you can slot in against a Diego Lopez and be like, this probably does work. For that reason, I did not mind that they regulated it. However, I don't want this to in any way become the norm. If a fight falls out hours before an event, then the fight falls out hours before an event. I also think the UFC might be reeling from, remember when Amanda Nunes had sinusitis?
Yes.
And the fans were like, oh, she's pulling out because she has a fucking cold. I think that they wanted to avoid some kind of blowback or, they had already lost Conor at the card. Now you're going to lose your co-main at the 11th hour. They're trying to save that. So in that sense, I didn't really mind it. But then it gets back to the point that you're raising, which is, okay, but how are we constructing the broader product? And to what extent is that leading to more of these scenarios where you're constantly having to do this next man up whack-a-mole game? That's a bigger conversation, but I just don't know where to take it because it's so out of our hands.
Yeah.
And it's so locked in at the moment. I mean, they literally have contractual demands about what they owe. Also, this question about are Ige and Lopez legends? I think over time what we're going to say is they are legends for their act and their athletic heroism. No question about stepping up, big balls, whole 9 yards. The fight itself is very forgettable. The fight itself, there's nothing to it.
Did it take away what that fight was supposed to do? Show you Diego Lopez as a potential title challenger and next star? It didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, but
him.
it didn't drag down his stock. It just kind of held him status quo, I think.
Well, I guess my question then is, if this is the norm, you can't control injuries. Sometimes injuries come in packages of months in a row.
And by the way, I know I have an idea about what Ige made. I understand him taking this fight. I'm not mad at those dudes for taking this fight at all. I get it.
In their mind, if they're like, I got a sparring session next week that'll probably be worse than that fight, I've got no problem with it. If that's fine in their mind and they can, that's fine. I'm just saying, should I shut up and should we just be celebrating Ige on the show and celebrating Roman Dolidze and celebrating all these people that were brave businessmen? No, seriously. How many more of this scenario?
Okay,
what happened is it gonna change the you? How many more times is this gonna be? Kudos to the UFC for making that done. Wow, they dodged.
Okay, but no, let's back up a step here. You seem very affected by fan pushback to your UFC criticism. Why is that? Like you're couching everything as guys, don't worry, I'm not a hater. But
let me tell you.
Like we should have an honest conversation about this.
There's points A and B. Point A, I'm a lifelong boxing fan. And that comes with a lot of built-in disappointment. That there are these high moments where the drug feels like it used to again, right? And then there are a lot of peaks and valleys, and you only stay with it if you truly love it. And I truly love it. I see so often the patterns and trends whenever boxing comes up for air for a year and a half and looks really good, but inevitably because of the disorganization, it goes back down. So Luke, that's a huge point A, because I know what it looks like when the eye's being taken off the ball and we're not making the decisions for the product anymore and all that. But B, I also covered pro wrestling at a real high level for about 4.5 years.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And I came in 2015, 16, 17, NXT, the breakout of the indies merging with WWE, and it was like this hot, fresh, new, progressive product. But those that followed my wrestling coverage saw that I think it was SummerSlam 2018. As everybody else was praising this pretty decent, great big card, I'm like, how do you guys not see that they're playing us? The time we have to invest to watch this is not equaling what it's worth. And they're making us look like fools because the storylines aren't really catching up with each other anymore. They're not making sense. There's a lot of wasted time between those big events on the horizon that give us all those feels. The week-to-week shows anymore are kind of just going in a circle where they're becoming faceless and they're becoming routine and pre-programmed. That got me to the point where it actually drove me out of the business because I couldn't sit there and go, another good Raw this week when it was the same Raw as last week. Just 3 things were swapped out and changed. Only they were changed worse, and it makes the storyline go nowhere. When I'm now feeling like the storyline in UFC, which is a natural storyline when people win and you advance and you go, oh my God, we can do this and this. That storyline's getting effed with these days more often for business purposes than I've ever seen.
No, but I'm asking a slightly different question.
So
I'm
I've
asking, why are you so affected by the pushback to some of your ideas?
That is the equivalent to like, hey guys, we're all on this boat together, but the boat is sinking and I can tell you how to get to the lifeboat. And people are like, what lifeboats? Or people are like, you just a hater, or you're just jealous, or you're just whatever.
Who gives a shit? Dude, people tell me I'm wrong all the time.
Who gives a shit? I do, because I know I'm not wrong. And I know this great sport that we love, cover, depend on financially, it's got its eye off the ball. It's no longer trying to, Dana can say all he wants about putting money back into the sport. And obviously they are, but they are maximizing every dollar to the point that they're choking the actual flow of water coming through and the natural flow of what gets people excited and how you build from fight to fight. Like Raw in those years, a couple years ago, where I'm watching every week going, this isn't go. How many times are we watching these Apex cards that are faceless and nameless, and the fights like, why is the number 15 guy fighting a guy that's unranked in the main event and neither have a Wikipedia page?
Because it's banquet food.
Okay, that's what happened, and that got me out of the pro wrestling business because I'm like, this is bullshit. I've almost come out of the boxing business so many times because some years it dried up and it was bullshit. This sport, what UFC built, that's why I credit UFC. What they've built is insane. They're on ESPN, that they're actually at this level. But now they got their eye off the ball and they are siphoning down every possible cent. Hey, fans, you can get your name on the canvas for the next pay-per-view. It's everything. We're now every pay-per-view justifying that the main event and the co-main event's getting changed, and we're sort of very blindly praising the promoters for saving it. When, hey guys, they're also causing it. Like they've built a machine that's not sustainable. They don't have the resources to sustain fully the machine they've built.
That is very true.
Without changing the flavor. It's just like when your favorite microbrew, favorite microbrew goes national, and suddenly they're not brewing it at the guy's place anymore. They're brewing it in some factory 3 states away. It doesn't taste the same.
Okay, but here's my pushback, which is I don't disagree with a single word of that. Nothing. I mean, I wouldn't watch pro wrestling. I'd rather just eat a bullet. But the fans still think that they love this version of the UFC. They have not soured on it yet. You have soured on this version of it. And so
not soured on it. I'm just it's not giving the hits that it could. And when you're watching again, underachieving
I
product.
agree.
Yes.
But what I'm trying to explain to you is there are a lot of fans who have not connected those dots that right now, and we'll see how long this lasts. Again, they're determined to learn this the hard way. They love the monopoly of the UFC. They love the content mill. And so you're bringing a sensibility that I don't disagree with even one little bit, but we have to understand the fans have been conditioned to expect the food to come to the
But
dog
those
tray
same fans
just like this.
are going to lose their patience and be out of the sport. So you spent all these last couple of years.
The UFC just brings in the next generation of them.
Then take Topuria and O'Malley and make them the full picture of what the star value that they could be, right? You know what I mean? Take your resources that you have. If you're the UFC and you're more into the idea of Adesanya versus Poatan, feed that machine now. Continue to tell that story. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Put a nice bow on the wrapping paper. Let's go. Let's move product. Let's sell this.
Yeah, I understand. I just feel like if you believe these arguments that you're making, and you do, you should not worry about the pushback that comes from them if you're as certain as you are about the truth value there. You should just let people rage at you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But don't worry about it. Like, you'd be like, guys, I don't want you to
not
think I'm a
worried-
hater.
No, I'm not.
Let them think you're a hater.
I'm not worried about it from an ego perspective. I'm worried about it from can't you guys see that Soylent Green is people? Like, can't you see this? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of new fans who are new to the whole thing, and because of the novelty is still there, they're not quite putting. Dude, if you're a long-term boxing fan, to your point, disappointment is so common. But you've also seen it when it works really well too, and then you're like, aha. Over time, you can begin to piece together the ingredients, or at a bare minimum, the context that's in play to make something like this happen. And they're not. A lot of these folks are just not like that. It's a new generation of fight fans who are disconnected from that. So that's what I mean. Like, they love the orderliness of UFC monopoly, and we know that ticket prices are high, and the cards are, unrecognizable by the time they happen because of some of it, legitimate injury and everything else, but they just don't feel the same way about it. So my view is, make your criticism, and if people like it, great. If they don't, fuck them, bro. Like, what do you want me to say? That's it.
Do you want me to get us to a situation where I'm willing to look at our listeners and say, fuck them?
It's not about, like, I want to stick it to our listeners in that way. I'm glad we have every single one of them.
I'm not attracted to most of our listeners, to be very fair with you. You know what I mean?
But to borrow a term from Gen Z, stand on business, BC. Stand on business.
I've been standing on the business, but more importantly than me winning the argument, I want people to wake up to the light, because Judgment Day is coming. I've been on this ship before, Noah.
Yeah.
Okay? All right? Let's get two of every kind now. All right?
I don't know what the fuck that means.
Anyway,
Gilbert Burns is supposed to be here in 2 minutes, by the way. He liked my message. I sent it to him, so
fantastic.
I think he will be here at the requisite time.
All right. Well, Luke, let's get quickly into this then. Okay? And we can pause when Gilbert Burns slides in.
All right.
Topic number 3, UFC 303, also gave us a very important welterweight fight to kick off the pay-per-view card. Ian Machado Garry scoring a close, unanimous decision across the board against Michael Venom Page. This really felt like a crossroads fight to find out whether Machado Garry is for real, or whether MVP can continue that start that he showed against Kevin Holland after coming over from Bellator. So, Luke, be honest. Did Machado Garry's close decision win showcase his problem-solving skills and commitment to maturity and evolution? Or did it expose how far away he actually is from true title contention? Because for all the control he had outside of that choke attempt in round 1, he really didn't seem like he knew what to do with it.
Yeah, this was a performance that told me he's got some work to do. He obviously has skill, and he's very young. And so people being like, oh, he's a bum, he sucks, he's not ready for a title. You're right, he's not ready for a title. Like, that is 1 billion% true. But it's also not true that he sucks. That's not true. However, like, the rhetoric that's coming out of his mouth, both before the fight, which you get, you're hyping up a fight, you believe in yourself, and I understand it after the fight. You want to fight against a name on a big card, and you feel pretty good about that. But it simply does not match the reality here at all. Dude, he was waiting on MVP to do anything before he threw, and he was getting tuned up in the second round as a result. Now, he did have a nice back take we saw, and some decent choke attempts in the first, but we're not talking about a guy who's got, like, stout jiu-jitsu and really good submission defense. Like, the fact that he couldn't finish it was a little surprising, but okay, he had a nice round. Second round, he got eaten alive. And in the third round, he rescued his chances with a very basic back take. Both guys had single-digit strikes in the third round. He is talking about how there is some kind of title inevitability. Well, with his youth and continued progress, I would not rule out anything. But there's nothing in that performance that indicates to me a title fight is an inevitability. There is nothing in that performance that mandates that he gets someone, to my judgment, inside the top 5. He was talking about fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Yeah,
Shavkat
he's got to
Rakhmonov
slow that roll.
would devour him.
Tune him up.
Oh my God, please be serious. Like, Shavkat Rakhmonov has offense everywhere, is tricky everywhere, does nothing but finish opposition. And this guy, I get it, he rescued his chances with the back take, but let's be honest about it. He was holding on for dear life.
Well, he also
in
has a
that
guy
third
who does not have a ground game in MVP. Noted.
None.
And he just, with
Dude,
very advantageous positions, it just didn't have the confidence. Now, I know he's working with Maya. I know that
I got one more thing I want to add
commitment
super fast.
to the work ethic is there, but...
So I just want to add very fast, super quick. I appreciate the patience that Garry showed, and I appreciate that he had the well-roundedness to get the job done.
Yes.
Right? Fair?
I want to give him that praise.
I give him praise. But it's one thing to elicit reactions and then counter those. It's another one to just wait and get eaten up for it. And he beat MVP with just a basic mix of the MMA game. He didn't beat him with anything sophisticated. And even then, he got by on the skin of his fucking teeth. This is a learning experience for him. This is a growth opportunity for him. This is not a mandate that he's coming for the title. Shavkat Rakhmonov has a mandate that he's coming for the title.
Did you see what Nate Diaz said about his performance after the fight? Let's listen.
And then all of a sudden he's shooting for a takedown. And I'm like, oh, you're a wrestler now. You're a wrestler.
That's what it did feel like. Now, you can say that...
I don't mind that.
Well, I didn't mind it because that's MVP's vulnerability. Garry does need to step up his game there. So it's like, I love the addition of Demian Maia. I love the focus on that. But he showed that he has a long way to go. So then to see his offensive game also get stifled, and to the point where he suddenly had to become a wrestler because he not only was not finding success on the field, he was getting pieced up at times. It's like, Luke, I do want to praise the problem-solving skills, the way that he figured out how to win that fight. He does seem to have the package to be great. I mean, look, he's a big welterweight. And I think if he can figure out how to be even more physical with his kicking game, that he can really walk through some guys. I think the work ethic's there. I think a lot of the foundational skills that could still ultimately get him there. But he's not as far along as I felt like he should have been.
He's not as far along. He has ability. He is doing well. This was not an easy assignment. And all of that is 2 thumbs up from me. He's not beating down the door of a title shot. He's not marching through the top guys with this like clear ability that you just can't ignore. He's getting the wins that he needs to get, and he's doing it with whatever he can to get to that position. But like, there's no bulldozing. There's no, oh my God, like I've got to see him versus that guy. I mean, you could make the Colby fight because there's some kind of rivalry, but not in the sense of I want to see what it's like when that guy is challenged. You don't see that. There's so much need to rush young dudes in MMA to the front of the line when MMA doesn't have a real amateur system, at least not much of one. I know we're going to talk about Bam Rodriguez later at 24. Look what he's doing.
I think there's an exception, like a Bo Nickel. Like there's exceptions.
Fair, but again, those guys have how much scholastic wrestling experience. I mean, it's just so much time. If we don't have that, we cannot expect guys. At 27, you're a fully mature boxer for the most part. You don't have all the experience yet, but you're pretty mature. At 27, you may or may not be a fully mature MMA fighter. Guys, Ian Garry is good. He's good. He is not fully mature, and he's got a ways to go.
Okay,
we should be honest about that.
Do you think the company takes up the idea for Colby? I've heard mixed reviews of whether Colby would want the fight, but let's say he wants it.
He told Submission Radio this over the weekend he doesn't.
Okay, or do you try to put him against the winner of Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady? Is that a more evolutionary step up?
I think you can do it based on their ranking position. However, I'll say this. Careful what the fuck you wish for. You know, Sean Brady, an absolute gorilla. Gilbert Burns, former world champion in jiu-jitsu at the black belt level, a former title contender in the UFC, as experienced as they come. A little bit older, yes, but keeps himself in phenomenal condition. By the way, Nosita, where are we on that? All right.
All right, no worries. When he slides in, we will slide over, or maybe Randy Couture beats him to it.
What are we missing? Are we being haters to Garry?
No, I don't think we're being haters to him.
What was the best thing about his performance? The first round back taken and the choke?
Yes.
So let me ask the better.
Well, I think his poise. Seriously, he didn't lose himself in there. Even when he was losing parts of the fight that was distressing, he never lost himself. Like, I think he has the base still, from the size he brings, the mindset, to even parts of his recuperative skills and I think there's a dog in there. I think it's all there, Luke. But connecting those wires, man, not quite there yet. All right.
Nocita, did you do any betting on Ian Garry?
I bet on MVP.
Why? Tell me why.
I just thought it was going to... I honestly said before it started, it's going to be 29-28 split decision. I thought it'd be a lot of point fighting.
Yeah.
Dana had the draw.
Did he?
Dana had the draw, yeah.
And so what was your holdup on believing in Garry?
Cuckism.
I've kind of just been fading Garry his whole rise, man. I really haven't seen it.
Do you also dislike him because he has a marriage that you don't understand?
No, nothing to do with his marriage. I don't like how he acts like Conor, though.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a totally legitimate criticism. Last question. Okay, so you faded him. You lost. What do you feel like you learned about Ian Garry from this performance?
Not much. We knew he had a well-rounded game, but like you said, it's very basic in most facets.
While I did learn that he's not as far as advanced as he needs to be and as I want him to be, I think I also learned that I'm not panicking and that he can still get there.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing about these young guys. We want to rush him. Same with Raul Rosas. Now, he's 19. That's like okay, it's a crazy thing. He finally showed that he was not going to fight like a fucking donk in his last fight. And people were like, yeah, let's push him to the front of the line. No. Take your time with some of these guys. Take your time. Garry is further along than that, obviously. But nevertheless, this idea like we got to give him Rachmanov next. Why? A guy who could be really good, you're going to shatter his confidence and give him a fucking beating just because that's where they are in the rankings position? That seems like a very bad idea.
Would this be the last use of Colby Covington as a big name B-side to get a younger fighter over?
Probably. Because if Ian Garry, I mean, think about it, right? Like if Ian Garry, let's say they did it in Dublin, goes in there and let's beat the fuck out of Colby Covington. First of all, that'd be great for his brand.
And for America.
Even though it'd be in Ireland for an Irish guy. But you would be like, what would you do with Colby after that? I mean, he would still call people's wives like whores or something, but who would really care? Like the thing is, Garry is participating in the back and forth in a way that is still intriguing. But if he beats the shit out of Colby, what do you do at that point?
All right, let's say I text David Feldman and I go, get Colby versus Verdum in a boomerang match in the BKFC circle. The rematch that, all the years in the making.
Dude, I'll never forget when I had Colby in studio one time, and this was right after he did the Filthy Animals bit, and he showed me his phone. Dude, it was like page after page of Portuguese death threats.
Oh, my God.
Like, I was like, dude, are you not worried? He's like, I'm not going there anytime soon.
Well, he did have that Ryan Garcia energy, so he did seem to have it
Ryan
coming
Garcia,
there.
who, by the way, is determined to lose all of his wealth in potential lawsuits.
Yeah, I don't even want to break down anymore, like, the recent
all of those people defending him, like, I'm not saying he's a bad person, but he's lost.
Ishai Smith has been coming after him.
Oh,
It's
did
been
he?
very interesting. Yeah, they've been going ham. Luke, we got to talk about Anthony Smith. He played a big narrative coming in that not only is he willing to do the things that others won't, that all the light heavyweights have avoided him, which forced him to fight a rising middleweight in Roman Dolidze to fill out this original co-main event, but just to keep this fight on the card. But Luke, after 3 less than inspired, chubby sparring rounds with Roman Dolidze and a unanimous decision loss, should Anthony Smith, I don't know what to say, should he slow his roll on where he actually sits in this division? And side topic linked in with the Ige conversation, do we credit Smith for being willing to fight anybody here? Or is this the returns you get when you let too many people who are willing to fight anyone on last minute fill your card with those type of fights?
I believe that we're at a place where we need to ask the question, how much is it worth preserving a fight on a card after it undergoes numerous injury withdrawals? At what point is the juice no longer worth the squeeze? I think this fight kind of shows that. Again, do you beat up Roman Dolidze for taking the fight on short notice? No. Do you beat up Anthony Smith for taking the fight on short notice? No. But it was a bad fight. It was not a good fight.
They rightfully got booed. I was serious. Like, it was a bad fight.
I appreciate, I want to say it one more time. I 100% appreciate the athletic courage that guys like this, and then again, to a much greater extent, Lopez and Ige are willing to show. But at the end of the day, if what you're getting are forgettable fights or even just outright, the Lopez and Ige fight was not a bad fight. Something like a forgettable fight, but not bad. This fight was bad. This was a bad fight. And I think if you're at the point where you're the best that you can preserve are two guys and the best that they can do, not overall, but in that moment is a bad fight, then it's not worth preserving anymore.
Unfortunately, it got linked with a couple other performances that didn't feel like elite MMA. Bueno Silva against Macy Chazon didn't feel like just short of title level of MMA.
Let me ask you a question.
Well,
about
just quickly, Arlovsky in that heavyweight fight, that didn't look like
that was a really
and then
bad
even
fight.
And I've got nothing bad to say against Michelle Waterson Gomez, who obviously has been such a great personality and ambassador for this sport. But then they're giving her like the former all-time great retirement treatment and what was like her 5th straight loss.
Well, current fans don't understand that she was supposed to be the next big thing in women's MMA for a time.
Right.
And it had, for a while, not totally, but for a while, had to compete far outside of her normal weight class. She really was, so she should have been in her early career in atom weight. At times, you saw stuff like that. I mean, if you've never seen, for example, have you ever seen Michelle Waterson at the time, now she's Gomez, but at the time, Michelle Waterson versus Jessica Penne in Invicta?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I mean, that's one of the best Invicta fights ever. It's a fucking amazing fight.
And that might be her best win, by the way.
It's definitely her best
because
win.
then you're like, is it Paige Van Zandt or is it, she got an aftermarket win recently.
But I don't mind that she got the video package because I sort of get where they came from. How did Arlovsky not get one?
Well, it's what I'm saying is you had too many. It's like, should we sit here and rag on Anthony Smith and Roman Dolidze when in reality they were just doing their part to keep the card together, even though we didn't rightfully, I think, didn't like the performance and the crowd booed it. But now you're looping it in with all of those other fights, which again, when you're spread this thin, you're starting to be like, man, that doesn't look like elite MMA. It's happened more often than not. I hate that feeling. But if we continue down the line of who did what here, Joe Pyfer took care of Marc-Andre Barriault in quick fashion. In fact, I believe we have a video of some. So here's the picture. That's a hell of a picture.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
a shot. I mean, he did a great job. He took his time.
But now he's saying that he was sick last time when he lost that 5-round decision to Jack Hermanson, which kind of looked like they took air out of his balloon. Like maybe he wasn't going to be a next big thing in this division. Did he repair it here? I think he repaired it, Luke.
He definitely did repair it a little bit. I mean, I think there's still some bigger questions because it looked also like he was a little bit outthought in that fight. Like he just didn't have quite the tactical answer that maybe was eluding him. But to your point, another young guy, another guy we shouldn't rush. Obviously, he's got a ton of promise, but let's take it easy on trying to push these guys. Even when they say they're ready, we should take it easy before we put them in these other particular positions. However, I agree. He performed super ably. He didn't rush it. He let his power land when it was the appropriate time for it to land, rather than forcing things. And look at the result you got.
Oh, and the scream and the passion.
Tremendous.
I love that.
And by the way, you can see he went to Turkey recently and got the hair transplant. So that's working. Did you not notice that?
Didn't that work for Coach Nixig?
I think he did it too, yeah.
His hair looks fantastic.
By the way, I'm told you can do that for like $4,000, which is nothing to get that done.
You know who should do it? Danny Ruby. Love that guy. Okay, Oklahoma Wrestling.
Oh,
Great
man.
guy.
I mean, he punted on that a while ago.
Yeah.
My man is short and bald. That's a 2-7
oh,
off suit.
Stop that.
That's a 2-7
yeah,
off
but
suit.
he can get the 7-10 split on that. He can do that. He can figure that out. Oh, I wanted to go back. Daniel Cormier criticized Anthony Smith for this moment. I wanted to get your reaction to it. Let's watch it.
Smith's done a lot of damage to that lead leg of Dolidze.
Wow, Roman's just clowning him. What is he doing there?
I mean, I would have punched him in the face.
Yeah, I don't understand what that was all about.
No, I wouldn't have smiled at him. I would have punched him and then slapped him.
DC don't play.
Yeah, I'm not playing like that. We're out here to get our money and fight, man.
He just kind of let him dance in front of him.
Yeah, what is going on here, man?
Okay.
DC would hold on. DC would go on to say, guys, Dan Henderson was my hero, and when I fought him, watch the tape, I tried to kill him every second of the fight.
He didn't fight Dan Henderson on short notice. Dude, when you take fights like this, where it's the short notice of short notice of short notices, the incentive structure you're competing with completely changes because you know that if you lose, there's a decent chance the UFC is not going to super hold it against you. You may not suffer all that much in the rankings, although Smith might hear it's hard to say because Dolidze was coming from middleweight. But in general, there are ways in which it won't super penalize you. So you don't have the same hunger to win. You don't have the same competitive animosity. You don't have the same incentives that typically drive performance. You don't have the same cardio. You don't have the same nothing. You take away all the things that make guys hungry, dialed in, focused, angry, ready to compete. And so you got two guys who were, you know, they were fighting, but they were kind of happy to just get through with the experience, given everything they were up against. This is the incentive. This is why, again, if fights fall out and fall out and fall out and you're just playing whack-a-mole, at some point, it just becomes something
every
else.
new iteration becomes a diminished return.
Yes, that's right.
And really, it does. And suddenly you're moving guys up weight classes and you're changing the weight. And
again, it was Jamal Hill, Roundtree. Then it was Jamal Hill, Olberg. Then it was Olberg, Smith. And then it ended up being Smith, Delidze.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to a place where it was literally unrecognizable from its initial booking. It probably was best if they had called that one off.
I'm with you. And I'm not here to dunk on Anthony Smith, who I like a lot.
Those
but
guys
it's
gave, listen, this is the point about the fight. They gave what they had. They gave what they had. They just didn't have as much, and not nearly as much as they normally do.
Okay, you know who had it? 25-year-old bantamweight Peyton Talbot.
Dude, what a fucking animal.
9-0 as a pro. Let's look at this 19-second KO.
Oy. The
I mean,
guy
did you
he
see
was
the way
fighting was a bit of a donk.
Yeah, but the way the head hit the canvas there, the Frenchman, damn.
Yeah.
Look, he looks, I know you've been talking about him. I
Yeah.
haven't really been paying attention. I really need, this was an eye-opener.
He is the perfect kind of weirdo that you want for MMA. Athletic, naturally gifted, has a transactional relationship to MMA. Like, he's not in it because he thinks MMA could be really awesome for the popularity. He's got a weird itch that he wants to scratch in terms of his competition and what he likes to do.
You mean like you, he'd rather open a combat sports show talking about anime?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're wrong about how popular these movies are.
Okay, just because it's our same argument on soccer, and by the way, I don't hate soccer, but I used to, and it's part of the argument. Just because something is beloved doesn't mean...
So why would these movies not have a right to be beloved? They're works of art.
Your defense always is...
I don't know if I can hear you.
How about now? How about now?
No, your mic is jacked up. Oh, we're gonna have to fix your mic. You know what? The world cut you off when you were making your stupidest point imaginable.
I had great points.
It just did you a favor.
I had great.
Do you want to come over and just duet with me right here?
Oh, that would be.
We can duet like when you know when the rock stars do this.
Oh, Ken, thank you so much.
All right, you want to finish your very stupid point?
My point was your defense always. It would be like if I was ragging on Taylor Swift. You'd be like, bro, don't you know how much she's made on the Eras tour? It's like, okay, that's cool.
So let me see if I understand this. You believe that the cultural value and the artistic value of these movies is tantamount to a corporate fucking
You believe that
goon.
it's impossible to not like something if the masses love it.
That's like the opposite of what I believe on virtually everything.
Maybe
you know that that's not what I believe.
Yeah, but that's always your first excuse is like, BC, do you have any idea how popular soccer is?
Right, because you come to the argument with like insane positions that are hard to understand. I mean, it'd be one thing if it's like, I don't really like anime. I'm not even sure how you properly classify this as either anime or not, but whatever. It'd be one thing to be like, it's not for me. But then you're like, oh, it's clearly not good or not of value or not worth my time. And I'm like, dude, you read the critical reviews of these movies. Like, by all means, ignore.
Right. I mean, it's just like you saying the Grateful Dead's the worst band of all time before ever listening.
That's a
to
personal thing. That's less thing. That's something that I can justify. Although they are bad. They're
Your
very
mileage may vary, Luke.
bad. Yeah, I will say. You know what? You know what I learned at the Sphere show? They're not bad. It's just
they didn't even get into it. You heard 3 songs. They didn't get into like the real long.
But dude, it's
extended
just a
jams.
bunch of white people swaying in the wind like this. This is what it is. It's like, it's inoffensive. It's inoffensive. That's the best thing I can say for it. It's inoffensive.
That's the opposite of abortion rock and death metal,
which is very offensive.
Very offensive.
Yeah, very offensive.
Yeah.
I've been texting back and forth with Gilbert. I don't know what the situation is.
We got cootered again. We got cootered.
I mean, this is like the reality. Like, I love Gilbert. I don't know if I don't know if the time zones got messed up. I don't really know what happened. But this is why, like, don't like booking fighters at all.
Well, historically, we've both done a great job chasing away the cooter. You know what I mean? Whether it's Randy or, so I'm not surprised, mother effers. You know what I'm
it's
saying?
amazing that Ariel pulls this off 2 times a week because I find it impossible to do 1 time a day.
That's why he's the 14-time defending champion.
That must be the difference.
It must be it.
It doesn't matter what I do in this business. I cannot seem to solve this problem. This is the exact same problem I've been having since day fucking 1. So
we can laugh about it though.
Oh yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's fine. But it's just amazing to me that like nothing ever changes with respect to these booking challenges. I'm waiting for Joanna to call back. I told you what happened after she like completely stiffed me on the air. Remember this? She called into our show first and was supposed to be on, and then whatever she talked to like Danny in the back. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong, but then she had to hang up. And then she called into Ariel's show, which, and I'd already introduced her as like, hey, she's going to be on right now. Let's go to her. And like, oh, no, we can't. Because then she hangs up. And then she called back when I was like an hour off the air. I was like, hey, I'm ready to do the interview now. I'm like, right. So here's how this works. I'm no longer on the fucking air. I'm not even in the fucking building anymore. That was the window, lady. And you fucked it up for me completely. So yeah, fun times. And of course, there was never any attempt to acknowledge any wrongdoing on anyone else's part. I'm just expected to eat that L on air, which I did. So forgive me if I don't have positive feelings about her long term. You know what I'm saying?
Luke, in the great words of Robin Williams, not your fault.
I know it's not my fucking fault. I know. Believe me, I'm not the one who's missing these windows.
I think you can let this go, though. If
they
pro
had
athletes.
apologized, I would have let it go.
I mean, these are pro athletes. It's kind of what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't take kindly to it, though. I'm a human being. I'm a professional. I show up. If I didn't show up, people would be shitty to me. So why are they exempt? I like Gilbert. I love Gilbert, but I'm just saying.
I mean, she does have all-time great spunk, Luke.
She is an all-time great. I don't take that away from her.
Yeah.
But that was an all-time shitty move. So.
I mean, I can't defend that, Luke. In our marriage, I can't defend that. She
can we talk about getting back to UFC 303? Can we talk about Ray Saruya and Carlos Hernandez?
Oh, yeah. You were real into Ray Saruya. And by the way, he lived up to your lofty expectations.
Okay, but let's back up a step. How about Carlos Hernandez, who was very much a worthy adversary in this fight? In the end, Saruya looked like he was real special. I'll say this. I'm still high on him, maybe even higher. But there's one little caveat to that. The high-risk stuff he goes for tells me he hasn't. I wonder what's going to happen if he tries this and he gets someone who's a slightly better fighter than Carlos Hernandez and shuts this down, and then this crazy shit he goes for doesn't work anymore. What that's going to do to him adapting and maturing and realizing like it's better to go for high percentage stuff than the opposite. Because right now he's got this crazy, like elastic, scramble heavy, amazing grappling style. Hernandez gave him a little bit of trouble for it. The next guy might be even harder as he moves up the list.
Sure.
What's that going to do to him long term? And is he going to have to learn the hard way? So he's got all the ability in the world. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I want my MMA fighters to have a lot of confidence, but I also like it when they're not as, like, I don't give a shit about the risk of this kind of situation, you know?
It's like bring that same energy that you bring to your OnlyFans channel and bring it to the cage, right?
I told you about the OnlyFans fade, right?
Yeah.
Nocita, have you heard about this?
No, I'm listening, though.
I was on another guy's podcast, Clint out of MMA Diehards, right? And he told me that they have an OnlyFans fade so that if a fighter, typically it's a woman, obviously, but not always, if they have an OnlyFans account, they automatically fade them, and that apparently this hits routinely. What do you make of that?
It does seem to be that most fighters that have ability that get them, it seems to be on their way out that they get it, right? That they get the OnlyFans account, like on their way out of like their arc of being how good they can become.
Or like just think about like if you can make a lot of money on OnlyFans, what does that say about you?
Well, I think they get to a point in their career where they're so frustrated of not making money in MMA that then they see what's going on, so they kind of throw their attention more to OnlyFans.
Maybe. Is that what you think, Nocita?
That, or they're just focusing their time on other things than training.
Butthole. Butthole.
Wow, how did we get here? So yeah, that's it for 303, Luke. Let's transition here to topic number 4.
Very good. Overall, kind of a dreadful card, an amazing main event, and a lot of interesting stuff in between. All right, BC, let's do a little bit of boxing talk here. If Gilbert joins us, we'll happily put him on. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see. All right, so let's start. I kind of want to start with Bam. Can we start with Bam?
Bam.
Let's start with fucking Bam. Guys, Jesse Rodriguez, I don't know what else to say. 24 years old. If you did not see his fight against Estrada this weekend, it's the best fight in combat sports that I saw over the entire weekend. Now, Poatan's finish is ridiculous, but the fight overall was incredible. BC, help us out here for a second. Who is Bam Rodriguez? Who is Estrada? Why was this matchup important? And then he stops him with a body shot KO in the 7th. Had knocked him down, I think, in the 2nd or the 3rd. I forgot. Fourth round. And knocked him down, although he got knocked down, but it was kind of a different knockdown that he suffered. But this guy is incredible. Help us understand the significance of this win.
Yeah, he's kind of criminally underrated, not just in boxing in general, although the hardcores definitely know. But I think on the presentation on this show, you were asking me, why have we not talked about this guy at length? Or, he did have that breakout 2022 where he stopped Srisaket Rungvisai, won a title against Carlos Cuadras, won 3 fights overall, and was legitimately in the Fighter of the Year discussion. I don't know why he's kind of slipped through, because he kind of has everything you would want. From San Antonio, huge fan base, southpaw, badass, obviously fights in that Mexican-American style, but isn't limited to just being a second-rate Chavez Sr. clone or, a traditional Mexican warrior. He has got real skill. Luke, the placement of his power shots, the variety in his shots, and the speed of his mini little footwork combinations that always kind of, for somebody who's so aggressive, he always kind of keeps himself also out of major punching range, although we did catch that nice 1-2 from Estrada in round 6. That was a flash knockdown, but did show you who Estrada is. So, all right, who is Estrada and why does this fight matter? So Bam Rodriguez kind of came out of nowhere a couple years ago, had that huge 2022, won world titles at 115, beating sort of that era's heroes one after another, then moved up to 118, won 2 in a row, including a world title, gave Sonny Edwards his first loss earlier this year, and just absolutely schooled him. But this was not only going up another level of competition, this was him going back in weight, back down to 115, and looking to unify against a future Hall of Famer in Juan Francisco Estrada. Bam is trying to take on and fight and defeat as many legends as he can at age 24. But Estrada has really been the legend killer of this division, or the small weight divisions, over the past decade plus. He had the trilogy with Chocolatito, and even though you can argue on the second fight specifically of the decision, he scored 2 wins to close out that series. He has 2 incredible fights with Srisaket Rungvisai, who was the god of that division for a while. He showed that he's at 34, starting to go over the hill into the other direction. But for Bam to step in, for it still to deliver the action and be almost kind of like a fight of the year contender, but still be so one-sided at the same time. Luke, other people have had Bam Rodriguez in their pound-for-pound top 10. I've always had him just outside looking in. That was a pound-for-pound level performance.
He has to be in that
because
list.
It's not just the power. What do you like about the way he sets up and his aggression? Those combinations are slick. They come from crazy angles.
So Sergio Mora made a great point early on in the fight. He was the one walking Estrada down, but he was the one counterpunching. That's very difficult to do. Usually if you think of the counterpuncher is the one that's receiving the pressure and then has to kind of get out of the way. For example, that's what Pereira did against Prochazka this past weekend. But Estrada was the one walking him down and then getting out of the way. Your timing has to be so good. Your athleticism has to be on point. Your vision, everything, distance management. That's a really, really difficult thing to do. And then BC, the combination work and changing angles. He would take inside foot position and work something, step out to then create a lane for his left hand as a southpaw. His ability to use pivots to reset the angle, forcing him to turn. The body work, again, he stopped him with a body shot KO.
We've got that footage, by the way.
Let me see what we have. I would love to see this. Dude,
this is round 7.
Are you shitting me, dude?
Lord.
And the guy he's beating, everything you just said,
is a Hall of Famer.
Is a Hall of
legend.
Famer. Look, he tries to get up, and then he just absolutely can't. Look at him in agony on the floor. This guy, he hits him with, just look, go, start the clip one more time, just from the very beginning, if I can see if I can grab it. Look at him pivot out to reset the angle right there. Boom.
That's almost reminiscent of Chocolatito, those type of moves.
Putting himself in position in the pocket. Look, he's already in the pocket when this happens to reset the angle, to fire it right with the good timing after Estrada goes. So this is what I'm talking about. Welcomes danger, has the athleticism to handle it, obviously has power at this weight class. Holy shit, he can do this no problem. And dude, the guy's confidence.
He fights with balls.
With fucking balls, dude. BC, he better be in your pound for pound top 10.
He is this week. I'm going to update that actually later today.
And I saw this in boxing. I looked it up. Inoue's 31. He turned 31 in April. Someone said he's the best boxer in the world under the age of 30.
Bam Rodriguez.
Bam Rodriguez.
At 24. Wow. That would have to... he's not better than Shakur.
Are his wins better than Shakur's?
Yes.
So then why isn't he better than Shakur?
Well, Shakur has won titles.
He's proven more.
Shakur has won titles in 3 divisions. He hasn't had as many big ticket fights, but what are you going to call Shakur boring? Okay, you can call him boring, but I don't think you can call him anything but
Is he better than Tank?
Potentially.
Tank is good.
Potentially, but it has swayed in Tank's direction of late, the debate, right? It has certainly swayed in Tank's direction because of the power and because obviously Tank is also a pound-for-pound level boxer and is a genius in terms of a counterpuncher. Ultimately, his power may be enough, but until I see Shakur solved, he's still he's still the wild card. Luke, he is. He's the wild card to take over and beat everyone in these lower weight classes. And I know there's not as much money in that account anymore after what he did against Edwin De Los Santos, where he was kind of injured and he kind of didn't fight aggressively. He also limited the guy. I always add that caveat because it's true. He limited the guy to a CompuBox record of fewest punches landed in his division.
Well, and he's got a big fight coming up this weekend.
True. But I also think he deserves, whether you're going to call him boring, whether you're going to take some points away from him because he didn't fight in a great performance of taking it to his opponent. He circled the way.
I want to be clear. He's English speaking as well. He's American, Rodriguez.
Yes.
How big of a star can you be at 115?
It's really hard. It was really hard for Chocolatito, who also didn't speak English, but they ended up linking him at the end of his prime with Triple G, and HBO was making all Chocolatito fights as the co-main events to Triple G fights. Very smart move right there. It's limited, but he speaks English. He's a badass. Luke, we were talking earlier about his tattoos. He's got the sideburn tattoos that have like the area code and the different, symbols.
Got the QR code
that
there.
mean a lot to him. Normally I would say not that far, but they were counting, Sergio Mora after the knockout when they were sort of celebrating on air, the announcers, he was sort of naming the other great flyweights and super flyweights that have come through the years. And he's basically saying this guy is of that ilk. Even what he did in 2022, I didn't think he was going to be this good. I didn't think he was. And even if you're telling me, okay, Estrada did show to some degree that he's a lot closer to being done than to his prime. Yeah, that could be true. I also didn't expect him to dog walk him the way he did.
Chris Mannix, when the fight was over, asked, what about a fight with Naoya Inoue, who by some people's account is the best boxer in the world?
Yeah.
There's debate over that. It could be Crawford, could be Usyk. You can decide, but it's only one of those 3 and nobody else. He has obviously come from this weight class. He now sits at 122, so they're 2 weight classes apart. For all the talk about, hey, what about Tank versus Inoue?
No, that fight was at 115.
That's what I'm saying. So 115, 118, 122. Yeah. They're 2 weight classes apart now.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
So when you think about it, that fight is actually, at least in theory, more doable than I think Inoue versus Tank is. What is your level of potential intrigue? Do you think it's even possible that they can make a Rodriguez?
I think it's possible because I think if you're Bam Rodriguez, you have balls, you probably want to fight the best. You've proven that you've wanted to fight the best. I mean, he just walked through in a couple year stretch and defeated SSR, Sorong Vasai, and now El Gallo like nothing. So I think he would want it. I think you can even look at it from like a Stephen Fulton Jr. point of view, that even if you go in there and get handled and dominated, okay, you went and fought a legend. You're not going to hold that against you. I think he would have the balls to think he's going to go in there and win that. Yeah, I think you can make that fight. I think Inoue is going to be in really big fights the rest of his way, in my opinion, because I think he's going to dare to be great size-wise, and I think that the combination of being co-promoted by Bob Arum and being a loved one of Turki Al-Sheikh, like one of the fighters that Turkey seems to really love. What? AJ, David Benavidez, Tyson Fury, that English guy. You know, the young English guy in the small weight class.
Ben Whitaker?
No, the other guy he loves. I forgot the guy's name. And this guy that seems to be his beloved players. So, it's I don't look. I'm at the point now, and I don't know really what next year's going to look like, and if the Saudi Arabia League is even a thing. I'd rather, as we talked about, do an in-between thing where we just have big majors, right, that are Saudi are a part of, and they're filling financially. But I still feel like there's no fight right now that can't get made. So we can play this barbershop fantasy matchmaking ad nauseum. Not only do I love that game, but I don't think there's a fight that can't get made right now. I don't.
Well, we'll see what happens. I don't know what they're going to do, but
we've never had bank like that, just sitting around, just waiting.
But it's so rare. I had not had a chance to keep up with Rodriguez's career very much recently, and then I knew this was a big one coming, and then I watched it, and I was like, holy shit, this kid is ridiculous. And by the way, all action style.
Yeah.
All action style. This is not one of those guys who's trying to point fight anybody. He is a predator. He's a predator in there.
What'd you think of Corey Erdman getting more opportunities? He's Todd Grisham's backup in some ways as play-by-play on DAZN, but he got the call for this one.
I thought he did great with the final call itself. Certainly, there's a lot going on because there was him, there was the British donk, there was Mora, there was Mannix.
They sometimes put like 4 or 5 people on the fight call.
There was 4 guys on this one, so it was a lot to kind of keep up with. So I'll just say, like, when he made his presence felt, it did not seem out of place, and it seemed to match the intensity of the moment. By the way, the crowd was going fucking berserk for Estrada, but also for like the action itself.
That's a good placement. So what they put that in? Was that in Glendale or Phoenix?
I don't remember.
That's a perfect spot because you've got Bam coming from San Antonio, and those fans travel from there for sure. And then you got Estrada from Mexico, so it was perfect. They have been. Here's the thing, Golden Boy has. Or was that Golden Boy? Or was that Matchroom? Matchroom.
That was
right?
Matchroom. Yeah.
That was Matchroom. They have built him correctly. Like, these are the right fighters that he's going through. And he seems now getting like the public push, and this was a big fight in that regard.
That's why I asked about like, how big he can be. I don't know, but it seems like on the boxing end, he's got everything.
Yeah, and look at how quickly Isaac Cruz, went from like exciting fighter to like, I think Mexico just claimed him as their next favorite thing.
Okay, but he had to fight Gervonta Davis. He had to fight, like, he had to be on big cards and big opportunities.
Bam wants that though. He obviously wants that at this age. He's got, look, Eddie's aligned with Turkey. We're going to find out how good this kid is.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. We got to go to the ESPN broadcast and Teofimo. But speaking of the connection between what I said about Corey Erdman, did you see Chris Algieri filled in for Tim Bradley?
I did.
On the ESPN card? It was fantastic.
How about Chris Algieri was in DC on Friday for the Lamont Roach card.
Yes.
On Pro Box TV, and then flew, where was the fight with, it would be in Miami. Then flew to Miami. He's from South Florida, but then flew to Miami to go do this card on back-to-back nights, and then I think killed it on both fucking nights.
Dude, he wore the white jacket on ESPN. I have to say, like, he might be, especially with Andre Ward stepping away for now from this specific job, he might be like the most thoughtful fighter analyst right now in the game. I think it's fair to say he's very well-spoken and obviously has the experience as a former champion. But I thought he hit it out of the park with his chemistry with Joe Test. They kind of kept Mark Kriegel as sort of like the scorekeeper only, and I thought they knocked it out of the park. The question is, did Teofimo, Luke, defended his 140-pound title against Canadian brawler Steve Claggett? It wasn't a big name on purpose. It seemed like they wanted to get an action fighter in there.
They got it.
I watched the public's reaction before I watched the fight, and I felt like everybody I saw in my timeline or even some in stories were writing underwhelming performance from Teofimo. I've got to push against that. He didn't get the stoppage. There is an argument to make about whether he actually has ever really carried the power up from 135 to 140. Because in the second half of that fight, he was hitting Claggett with the kitchen sink, lowering Claggett's outcome and just teeing off on him. And he was unable to get him out of there. But short of that power, I saw a guy make adjustments under fire and really look very good again. And he can be so hit or miss based on seeming the circumstances in his life. But did you agree that overall it felt like a win? I mean, it was a win in terms of the victory, and it was a wide margin, but I feel like it advanced him forward.
I'll say this. We have Gilbert here now, so I'm looking forward. We'll talk to him about it. I feel like in the end, Lopez looked great, but the visuals after of his face being so swollen and so messed up, I don't know if, like, it wasn't big enough to capture enough attention to really hurt his stock. But if you just look at him afterwards, you're like, damn, you kind of struggled with this guy. And that's not what the tape shows.
He didn't respect the guy's power. So
he didn't. And by the way, Claggett was like right on top of him to start the fight. So it kind of is inevitable. So I appreciate the risks that Lopez takes. I guess I'll say this. If he's going to take that kind of a damage, it should be against somebody where it's worth it. You know what I mean? That's my only issue.
All right.
All right. Let's bring him in now. Our friend here, Gilbert Burns. We got him.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what? He is reliable. He will be in the main event against Sean Brady. This will be September 7th at the Apex. It's the one and only Gilbert Burns. There he is.
Torino.
What's up, Gilbert? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me. A little bit late, running late here. Just came back from Vegas yesterday night. Got a train, everything, family. So I was running a little late, so my bad.
It's okay, dude. It's how things go. We appreciate you joining us just the same. Hey, got to get your reaction to what we saw. First of all, let's just talk about the main event from UFC 303. You were there. Well, if I had to ask you a basic question, give me your answer. What makes Poatan so special?
Well, that power made that guy so special. The character, the guy, even though he doesn't speak English, a lot of people can understand the guy, I don't know, he's a little weird but he's the guy that we can connect more than we could back in the days with Anderson Silva. Anderson was the greatest, but his English wasn't the best. Aldo too, but we couldn't connect. I think now with social media, a lot of more things you can connect more with the guy, but I knew that guy was going to win. For sure I was a little bit nervous, but that guy has dynamite on his hands, and Jiri was not the guy that gonna out wrestle him. They're gonna be smart with the strategy. He's gonna go a little crazy on the strike, and I kind of felt that was gonna be the outcome.
Would you want to see him fight John Jones?
That's a very tough fight. I think John Jones is not gonna play the game. John Jones is too smart. I would love to see it just so maybe this guy can go on the history as one of the greatest. But stylistically, I don't like the matchup for Pereira. But for sure, would watch the guy.
All right, let's talk about the other fight that was on this card that is relevant to you. You're fighting Sean Brady, as I indicated. But as it currently stands in the rankings, Gilbert Burns, that's you, obviously sitting at 6. Then there's Garry at 7, and then Brady at 8. Give me a sense of what you saw from Garry in his very close but win over MVP on Saturday.
I saw a guy that I still have a great relationship with Ian. No, I corner him against Neil Magny. We train, I sport together. I sport this guy so many times. And I was the one that, he said, bro, I don't think I'm going to stay here to clip you as much. And I said, if you don't stay here, I think you should travel. You should focus on the things that you need to get better. Let's say, for example, if you want to strike, I was going to Thailand a little bit, maybe New Zealand. If you want to grapple, get better your grapple, you should definitely go to Brazil. And he kind of got that, and then he went to Brazil. He's training with Damian Maia, with Charles Oliveira. And I think on that fight, he wants to showcase his improvement. And that's the best fight to show your improvement on the grappling, because that guy doesn't have a lot, and he's danger on the striking. So I think it was a very close fight, but I think Ian showed a lot of improvement on his grappling, and then he's still a lot of things to grow. This guy's only 26. I think he showed a lot of potential. The guy is danger striking with a good IQ, and his jiu-jitsu is getting better and better.
Okay, I agree that he showed promise. I certainly don't challenge that. But he's sitting in the rankings between, again, we'll see how it goes after today, but he's sitting in the rankings between you and Sean Brady, and it's like, man, you want to talk about out of the frying pan into the fire. If he ends up fighting the winner of your fight, which could potentially be you, A, would you have any issue fighting him, right? Because I know you guys have trained together, obviously. And then B, I agree that he's got promise, but I don't know about the top 5 of that division. Tell me what you're thinking.
First of all, I don't have no issue fighting anyone. I'll fight him. We're good. We have a good relationship, but we know we both want the same thing, so we already set to each other. If we're meant to fight, we're gonna fight. So I have no issues with that. And secondly, I think he's very tough, bro. I think his grappling is getting so much better. I even remember those sessions with Shavkat, on the feet. He was doing good, very good on the top. Was just getting way harder when Shavkat was taking him down, But now putting a lot of emphasis on his grappling. That's one fight that might happen. Ian and Shavkai, that would be a good fight. And that Colby fight will be a big test. I think he'll smoke Colby on the feet, but then I want to see the grappling because Colby will try to take him down. I think maybe he can, and then I want to see the grappling. But he's good. It's like people still doubting him, but he's that good. That people should like start believing a little bit more in the guy. He's only 26. Guy's confidence very good, very high IQ, works very hard. A crazy gas tank, good volume. I think he's gonna do super well with a lot of guys in the division.
Yeah, put some respect on that man's name. Yeah,
you didn't disagree with me at all.
No, but at the same time, I think he did show a lot. I'm glad that Gilbert could point it out. Gilbert, there's no doubt in your appearances on this show that our fans would put you first ballot Hall of Fame for best interviews because you're always so real and honest with us. So tough question here. You're facing a 2-fight losing skid for the first time in your pro career. Does doubt creep in? Does anything change for you mindset-wise facing this for the first time?
I would say whenever happens, he did, he did a little bit on the beginning, but I had to dust it up and got back to work, So when, that was a tough comeback too because right after the injury and then the loss and injury from Bilal Muhammad, I got a Jack Della Maddalena. I thought it was going to be a tough fight, but I thought I get it until I don't. By the end, he knocked me out. It was a good win. I got a couple injuries, a little concussion after that, so I need to another pause at the career, recover, and then got back to training. Finally, now I'm all good. But now I gotta. It's not. I don't care about the criticism. I don't care. I don't even look it, and I really don't because people say I don't care, but they're looking everything that people are saying and they feeling bad. I really don't. I know who I am. I know what I get, and I'm just coming to this fight, and I really, really, really want to finish this guy. Just to prove to myself that I'm still one of the best, that I still can become a champion, because that's what I am on the UFC for. I want to become a champion. I'm not gonna be these guys. I'm not taking fights and doing whatever, and then if I was in Dustin Poirier position, I'm out. I'm not fighting anymore because I got 2 times with this guy. That guy I lost, I'm out. And then it will be the same thing with me. Exactly the same. If I maybe lose to this guy and then something happened, then I see him getting further and further away from the title, I'm out. So there's gonna be a lot of things in my career. So I'm putting everything in this camp. I really want to finish this guy. I know I can. I'm gonna put every single time, every single energy on my work to go out there and really finish this guy. He's not, and again, sometimes they said that, but I know like the Masvidal fight, I want to finish Masvidal, but with stuff was danger. I just got to win. It was decision win, but with this guy, I don't want the decision win. I want to go out there and show levels and just finish this guy, take it out of there, submission, TKO, knockout, whatever it is. But that's a turning point. If I go there and finish this guy, I'm back in the game. They give me another tough fight, and then we'll see how it goes. But if I lose, I'm gonna be so further away. So we'll see after that. But I'm looking forward to go out there and finish this guy.
Well, would you call this a must-win then, based on everything you just said?
Yes. Yes.
Guy's real, Luke.
How does that make you feel that the stakes are that high? Do you almost like it, or it's just kind of where things are?
I like it. I like it because then he's all the fuel for me, to put that on the training and really start like finishing this guy's gonna be everything, like not, or if that type of performance that I go there, I don't finish it, but I kill this guy for 5 rounds, that would be okay. Other than that, a finish or destroy this guy for 5 rounds, that's it. But that puts a lot of fuel on me, that put a lot of good pressure on me, not the bad pressure, but puts a lot of good pressure on my recovery, on my training, my strategy, study this guy, break down, like get the real teammates to help me with the strategy and pushing me and get me to the level that I need to be to go out there and perform mentally and physically, technically. And yeah, I like it. It's a good pressure. It's a pressure that I always put on my back, but I never been in that position of like a must win. And it's good. It's good to be in that position, to be honest, you know. And at the end of the day, I'm not like I don't repent enough of my career. You know, everything that I did with the full energy, with the full training, with the knowing what I'm doing. So two losses, it is what it is. I'm going to destroy this guy.
All right. Obviously, a guy like Sean Brady's got really good jiu-jitsu. That's the sort of centerpiece of his game. You're a world champion at the black belt level in jiu-jitsu. So from your eyes, give me an assessment of his grappling. What are the particular strengths that you can tell?
Oh, he's a very good grappler. On top, he has tremendous pressure. Look physically very strong. I think that's going to be one of the most strengths for him. He's strong. He can control very good. He tried to don't put a lot of space. He slowly get into position, has good takedowns going to the back, and then control gets heavy top control. He has good hands. Nothing that you need to be too much worry about it. He's not gonna hit as hard as Jack, as hard as Hamza. He's not that type of striking aggressive. But I'll say the main point is going to be the grappling. I think he has good takedowns, very strong, good control, and eventually he changes up to a couple offensive attacks of submission.
And how? Let me ask you this question: how does your grappling stylistically differ from his?
I think he got more options. I open up more things. I'm a little bit more well-rounded. I play bottom, I play top, and I think I got the answer for his grappling. No, I think he's a holder, he's a controller, and I think a way more attacking, offensive, and from all the positions, from all the angles. I think he got more attacks and more options than his style.
What do you make of like his physicality that he brings? What's your antidote for that?
Yeah, I heard he's very strong. He has a good gas tank. My antidote, we're gonna test that. So I'm gonna be in a freaking amazing shape. I went all the way to training lab on California with Coach Carl. We did crazy tests. We get a good training, good system going on. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, we're gonna test that strength. We're gonna see how strong this guy is. We're gonna see if the guy, because on my end, it's very hard to see a guy as strong as Yoel Romero, let's say, as strong as Paulo Costa, as strong as Hamza Chimaev is, and had the crazy gas tank for 5 rounds, you know. So that was the question that everyone want to see Hamza against Robert Whittaker, if that gas tank gonna last. And that's gonna be my question for Sean Brady. If he's that strong that people say, let's see how long that gas tank's gonna land, because it's very hard to have a guy that is a freak on the strength and have the gas tank on the same time. I never saw that. If you saw that, this guy's a freak, you know.
Gilbert, we're finally going to get resolution atop the division with Leon Edwards defending against. I remember the name Bilal Muhammad. You do as well. How do you handicap that fight? The fight with you and Bilal, obviously the circumstances, I'm sure you would like to change, but I'm sure you also have respect for what makes Bilal Muhammad good. How live of an underdog is he in the potential of becoming the next welterweight champion?
Oh, he's super live. People kind of count him out. The guy has a good IQ. I think I know what he's gonna do. I think he's gonna make a dog fight. You know, if he stay on the distance with Leon Edwards, oh, he's gonna eat a lot of kicks. He's gonna eat. I think Leon Edwards is a great striker, more as a sniper. They use a good strategy too. His camp is very good. I like his coach. I follow every single one of them. I saw the work that they do. But so is Bilal Muhammad. You know, these guys do a good game plan. Bilal Muhammad has a good cardio. He doesn't go. He's not that explosive. He's not super fast, but he keeps on the high intensity. You know, he's always moving. He's always doing something. I don't think he's gonna strike so much on that fight. That's why he was kind of training with Islam, talk with Habib about it. I think he's gonna do a dog fight. You know, I think he's gonna be on Leon Edwards, study boxing, try to wrestle. Don't even mind if he doesn't, but he's gonna be on the inside making a dog fight. I think that's the way for Bilal Muhammad to get a win. If he doesn't do that, then it's gonna be a harder fight, and I think Leon can pick him apart and get it. But I think it's gonna be a decision. I don't know who wins, but it's gonna be a very close fight, closer than people think. I think people kind of discredit Bilal Muhammad just because he's not the guy with that charisma. He's not the guy that the fans like the way he talks. But I think he's a very good fighter, and that fight is closer than people think.
All right. What do you make about what Craig Jones is doing with the Craig Jones Invitational, $1 million, going head to head with ADCC? And I ask it for a couple of reasons. One, I'm just curious what you think of it, but also, if $1 million had been up for grabs when you were at the peak of your grappling powers, would you have ever done MMA?
I still love MMA, you know, and then I fell in love with the sport since the beginning. Wasn't just because the money, but I fell in love like being a white belt again, learning to striking, and learning how to positioning, wrestling, kicking. So I fell in love with that. But at my time, for sure, I'll be good jumping on the CJI tournament. I love what Craig Jones is doing. I respect the guys from ADCC very much. But I love that competition, you know. I love that these guys never put money. They never raise the money, to be honest, you know. It's always the same price for the champions for the last 15, 20 years. Kind of like a little bit, but different with the UFC bonus, you know. It'd be 50 grand for years. For years, you know, it's time to put on 100 grand, like maybe more, 150. And he's the kind of like the same thing with ADCC, and I love what Craig Jones is doing. I was the one talk to Musa Messi, so Mike, go fight CJI. Do a super fight. I think he's doing the super fight. They might send the opponent very soon. He's a very famous MMA fighter. But I was the guy, like Wagner Russia. Wagner is still gonna do ADCC and understand why, because he's two kids, you know, his son and his daughter eventually is gonna be on the ADCC. He don't wanna kind of close that door. But I told him you should go CJI, bro. But I like it. I like that it's kind of like he's a little bit messed up if you been years working together on the ADCC, because it kind of divided a little bit. You know, you got the Ruto Wallace brothers doing the CJI. Cade is the main current ADCC champion, and he's not gonna be there. So whoever wins on the 77 division, on the 170 division, he's not gonna be considered the champion because the champion is not there. So he's not gonna, for sure, it's still gonna be a great event, ADCC. But whoever wins the ADCC from the grappling community won in the year that wasn't everyone in there, you know. And then let's see who wins CJI, because if Cade wins, then CJI is gonna be legit. If Ty wins, they're gonna be very legit. Depends who wins on both. Then we see how the credit goes after. But I love what Craig Jones is doing.
All right, last one from me here, Gilbert. I saw that over the weekend, Pantoja and Moicano got a chance to meet with Vinicius Jr. Did you get a chance to meet Vinicius Jr. over the weekend?
Almost. I had so much. I had so much appearances. Like I don't know. That was the time total. I had, I think, 3 or 4 appearances on Friday, and then was only 3 on Sunday, but it was a lot. And I could go, but I had to cancel all that. But I had a couple partners that I said that I was going to be there, so I had to be honest with my word. But the great thing was my son went there. You know, my son, my Pedro, my older son, was there with Pantoja. He had a great time. Unfortunately, couldn't go. But that was the time that I worked the most in the UFC. I'm getting paid. They getting me compensated for that. Even Sunday, I had 3 appearances, and that was a lot. And a freaking Sean Strickland, this guy crazy. This guy left on the middle of his appearance. He said, "Oh, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm left." So he just left. and he had people there waiting for him a lot. And then the UFC called me. Hey, you wanna? I know we need a guy to show up for this fight here. You wanna come? You're gonna get your pay and everything. So I show up and I finish his appearance. The guy was crazy, but yeah, that time I worked a lot. Unfortunately, I couldn't see Vinny Jr.
All right. Is Neymar right that Vinny is the ugliest player in the world? Is that true?
Yes, yeah, he's ugly, bro. He's so ugly, and and so my guy, Raul Rosas, he's the ugliest one in the UFC.
Yes. Yes, bang bang.
He's my guy. I love the guy. He's a character, but he's ugly, bro. He's very ugly.
Wow.
All right, Gilbert. Well, you're not Gilbert, and we can't wait to see your fight. It'll be September. Gilbert Burns in the main event. Sean Brady, 5 rounds for a lot of the marbles anyway. Certainly at 170 pounds. Gilbert, I appreciate you making some time. I know you got a very busy schedule. Thank you so much, man. We always like catching up with you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys for having me. Make sure you guys tune in September 7th. Let's go.
There he is.
Let's go.
All right.
Gilberto.
By the way, you didn't see this. So Neymar, who you've heard of Neymar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neymar Jr.
He had done some Brazilian podcast. And someone asked him, like, who's the ugliest player? And he was like, bro, it's got to be Vinny. Vinny is just a horrendous-looking human. So I brought that up for that reason. There you go.
You soccer fans, you love that stuff. Wow. All right. That's great. Hey, good for Gilbert showing up. I appreciate that, gentleman.
Professional. He's a professional. That's what he does.
Very professional.
He's a professional.
I hope he joins Joanna in that Hall of Fame one day, all right?
If he had missed it, he would have apologized to me because that's what a professional does. You know? So.
Maybe like John Jones, she just didn't care. Look, she just. Yeah,
of course she didn't. Just another person
all right.
to steal on.
To close up, Luke, on our topics before we see some shit on the way out here, I wanted to put the bow on Teofimo. I do have questions if his power has carried at 140. But the reason why I think that's an interesting point to bring up is he's now talking about the 140 cut starting to be too much. He could see himself moving up to welterweight sooner than later, and he reiterates that you can talk about Tank and Shakur and everyone else. He wants Crawford at 154. Luke, he would almost have to be an elusive, quick boxer and counterpuncher, which is what he is. But in those higher weight classes, if his power has questions at 140, how will this work? Will this work?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it will work. I mean, if it's really real that his power doesn't move, because his power is part of his style. Like beating Comey the way he did, for example, is because he had power.
He had power at lightweight where they would hit his fist and bounce. Like they'd just go the other direction.
If it doesn't work that way at 140, it doesn't mean he can't win big fights, but it definitely makes him a lot harder. And so therefore it makes you just much more questioning what's really possible here.
Interesting thing I want to reference here that is loosely tied to Teo. Did you see Nico Ali Walsh, the grandson of the greatest, rematched on Saturday in the opener on Top Rank?
His shoulder got dislocated.
So he rematched the only loss of his pro career, which was a disputed decision. He dominated this guy who was just a brawler for most of the fight. Then he was jumped up and down and popped his shoulder out like you're saying. And then he withstood a war over the final couple rounds. But did you see who he called out afterwards? This was interesting.
Teofimo Lopez said in an interview a few weeks ago before this fight, he said he disrespected my family, saying that I'm only in boxing because I'm desperate for money and fame. And I thought that was real wrong for someone that I used to look up to say. But, you know, it is what it is. I just want to let everyone know that I chose the path of boxing. I chose the path of legacy. If I wanted to, I could be a millionaire right now. Before this fight, I denied a multi-million-dollar contract from MVP Promotions to fight Jake Paul, and I'm fighting a real fighter tonight. So I'm not a part of that circus league of boxing. This is the real league of boxing. This is what I'm going to do.
So that was a big reveal. He was targeted in the spot that Mike Perry ultimately took, replacing Mike Tyson against Jake Paul, but he turned it down to stay the real route. Now he's calling out Teo for those comments. If Teo wants to start going up to 47 and 50, could Teo meet Ali's grandkid at 60? Would you be okay
Don't
with
care.
that? Okay, there we go.
No. By the way, I'm not sure it was a smart idea not to take that money.
That's what I'm starting to wonder that too. I wonder if that could have been a big...
You know what? I was talking to this about my wife. Like like MMA in general. This is true for PFL. It's true for ONE. It's true for UFC. It's just inherently exploitative. Like it's extremely exploitative. BC, we have covered enough Jake Paul fights to know this. I've never interviewed a Jake Paul opponent who was unhappy to be there.
Good point.
Never once.
Yeah.
Never happened. They are delighted to get those fights. Now, of course, a lot of times it's because they're older and this is the last payday, but Mike Perry is not older. It's not his last payday.
Jr. didn't seem to want it.
I don't know if he wants anything related to the fight game in general. He wanted the Bridger weight title. I was like, holy fuck, get out of my face. But look at Mike Perry. He's 32. He has plenty of fights left. He is excited to be there. Like, there's a certain kind of people think that Jake Paul is exploiting these people, and of course he's getting something for it. But I got to tell you, they're the happiest people to be exploited I've seen in the fight game. It's kind of an even
happiest
trade.
People to be exploited since Howard Stern's whack pack.
Since Beetlejuice.
Indeed. Topic number 5, quickly, Luke.
We should punt on this. We don't have time.
Hold on quickly.
We can't do this and have you seen the shit.
We can do both. This will be quick. Boxing pay-per-view this weekend from Fanmio, Luke. It is Nate Diaz, Last Man Standing, versus Jorge Masvidal, Part 2. I will say, when this was launched and announced, a lot of people had why are we doing this in boxing? Would you say, though, that the large amount of press conferences, of which I've hosted all of them and will host another this Wednesday in Anaheim.
Yeah, Nate Diaz doesn't like you.
Have they, you had the brawl last time between the two teams and Jorge Capetillo. It's moving the date. Has it all come together to actually make this kind of must-see on Saturday?
Must-see is absolutely in no way, shape, or form what this is. This is very much if you want to see. Not must-see. There's nothing must-see about it at all. But what I will say is moving the date, all the press conferences, at least the more recent ones especially, and then getting that deal with Fight Pass, I definitely think is going to help it a lot. That I certainly think is true.
All right.
I really feel like people are going to pay much more attention to it now than they ever would have. And that is a victory in and of itself. But must-see, get the fuck out of here with that.
Okay, who wins?
Probably Jorge.
He seems more motivated given that UFC is giving him a 3-fight window to do boxing outside of it.
How many rounds is this one?
I believe it's 8 or 10. 8 or 10. 8 or 10.
You're the one.
I gotta check.
You're working it and you don't know?
I'll find out before Wednesday's press conference.
I'll say this. If it's 8, it's definitely Jorge. And even if it's 10, it's probably Jorge. But I don't know.
I wonder if all this hullabaloo has woken Nate up. We don't have to play the videos again of Nate sending me to hell on the press tour and walking off twice on 2 different dates. But there was a press call for elite media members in the past week. And this was captured from
awesome.
Nate.
Especially against what's that guy's name? The guy who was in the middle talking, asking me the stupid questions. Brian Campbell. Brian Campbell too. So I need to hold him down a little bit. Slap him around, ask him some questions.
Who was
thinking it? What do you say, Nate? What do you care about? Antagonizing a fight right here, you're half the problem. Not him just butting up situations. It's just think about high school. The whole place is starting to fight, but me, I was a bigger man and I walked away. And that's why we're gonna be there July 6th. Because of me. You're welcome, Masvidal and Fanmio.
That's great. I got to say, I understand Nate Diaz completely. He finds you frustrating and antagonistic.
Well, that's actually, in this case, my job, right?
Yeah.
In this
Here's
case,
the thing.
that's my
they
job.
were not selling the fight at all at these pressers, and you were basically like, well, fuck it. Someone's got to make him do it. So
10 rounds, Long Island Luke is saying. So 10 rounds. Light heavy.
Okay.
No, cruiserweight bout, 10 rounds. No, light heavyweight bout.
Yeah, 175, yeah.
Pay-per-view Fanmio this Saturday. You can buy it on UFC Fight Pass. If you buy it on the Fanmio website, I believe you get the T-shirt as well.
I mean, who gives a fuck?
Watch the press conference on Wednesday. You never know what's going to happen, okay?
Are you hosting that one too?
I am. I might get sent to hell.
Dude,
we'll find
you're
out.
going to get sent to major hell.
Big names on this broadcast. I don't know when they're launching that, but big names in boxing and MMA joining me as an announcer on this broadcast.
I know. I saw some of the names. You showed them to me. I don't know how they're going. I mean, this show, I'll say this. The show looks expensive. It looks expensive.
Fanmail's going for it.
They're going for it.
All right.
And again, on Fight Pass too for like $50.
And also check out the 2-part Last Man Standing pre-fight documentary thing on YouTube. Check it out. I think it's very well done.
All right.
That goes down this Saturday, Luke. We're going to close with some shit. I scoured the globe yesterday. Good, the bad, the ugly, all that, and then some. Tall, pale, and weird. It's your boy BC shit. Check it out. I hope you saw it. There we go. Luke, are you ready? I brought it. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Karate Combat from Orlando gave us a lot of insane highlights, none bigger than Rafael Alves Is that a scissor kick on James Vick, or was it a switch kick?
It's a jumping switch kick.
A jumping switch kick on James Vick and sent him beyond the shadow realm, Luke. Wow.
Dude, James Vick has suffered some of the worst knockouts I've ever seen. Also, I don't know what kind of canvas they use, but did you notice his head doesn't bounce?
I do. We have an alternate view of this. Watch this, Luke.
This is like disturbed. Like,
oh
yeah, like.
There's Mike.
Dude, there are some
Mike
people.
Majak?
There are some people like when they get knocked out, their body falls in a way that is like very highlight reel
Sam
worthy.
Alvey can't watch it. He can't watch it. Did you see
And,
that?
yeah, and this is that. If I'm, dude. By the way, James Vick should retire. He should stop fighting.
Yes, you're right. But whether it was boxing, whether it was bare knuckle, he's been taking hard L's. Luke, tell me what happened with this huge post-fight brawl that broke out between camp members of each team's corner. And then the Karate Combat president needed to come in to put one of these guys to sleep to defuse it.
The head of Goat Shed. He seems like a nice guy, and I think he did what he could. But this is a bit of a shit show promotion, is it not?
Yeah, but like it's on the edge.
Isn't that part of their brand?
That's what I'm saying. Like they're purposely on the edge. Like their arena's weird and fun. It's like an alien vibe. But look at what happened right there.
Balls and brains this guy's got with the fucking tank top and the flannel, the flowery shorts.
I believe we have another view of let's advance the slide here. Yeah, that was just wild. And there's the president choking out. There's Sam Alvey with the balls and brains tank top.
Oh, that's
on.
Sam.
Yeah, that is. He was a part of this too. Also, Luke, you know journalist Ben the Bane Davis?
Yes.
You know this guy.
I wouldn't call him a journalist.
Broadcaster.
Yeah, broadcaster. That's right.
He had a Karate Combat fight.
I love Ben. But he's not
I like Ben too. He had a big call out afterwards. Let's listen in.
Who do you want to fight next?
UFC 303 is tomorrow night. Alex Pereira defends the light heavyweight throne against Jiri Prochazka for a second time. We got some good welterweight action on that card. Garry, MVP. But there's one UFC welterweight that is wasting his time in the top 15. In fact, he hasn't beaten anyone that's currently on the roster in the last 6 years. Colby Covington, where the fuck you at? Coward Covington, bitch!
Look at this guy. All right, a couple of things here. We didn't run highlights, but he got the win, so shout out to him for doing this. He didn't do ab work ahead of this, though. Does that become a plus or a minus for him?
You can do ab work, but if you don't lose enough weight, people can't see the abs.
That's true.
So that's not quite true.
He had an Anthony Smith Roman Dolidze build for this fight.
Yeah, I don't know if he took it on short notice or not, but
got the win though. So he's a little bit crazy, right?
My man is out there doing something unique. He'll both call the fights and then just get in there and do it.
Do you think Colby will take him up on this offer?
Unlikely.
Under the KC banner. Okay, Luke. Chihuihuis is everywhere. Let's go to Power Slap.
Everybody, God bless and good night.
Luke, you can't avoid it. It's on T-shirts. In fact, let's hear Rosas. Yeah, sorry, I was reading something else. Would you wear that shirt? What would it take for you to wear that shirt on this show?
I'd rather get fucked to death by an 8-dicked walrus.
I need to do a bet with you in which when you lose, you have to wear that shirt.
Fine.
For a whole show.
Fine.
Okay, double XL. Here we go. I'm going to buy it for you. Also, Luke, check out this child abuse bonus clip.
Oh, asshole. Keep your feet on the pedals.
Oh, we didn't have the audio. So the end of the audio, somebody yells chihuihuis after this. So there you go. I guess that's what it means. They asked Poatan what chamas mean, and he basically said it means everything.
Yeah, it's kind of like hang loose or something.
Yeah, whatever. All right, let's go to UFC 303. Luke, did you see how chill Team Poatan was like a half hour before the main event?
Hey, man.
Just line dancing out here?
He's not successful by accident. This guy is just not moved by much.
Dude, the bromance between
including
him and
the rhythm.
The bromance between him and Glover is better than our marriage. It is the best thing going in male men on men love. It's the best thing out there.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
You know, it's great. All right. Let's go over to Shaq Majori, friend of the program. Here's a question, interesting one he had for Dana.
First, it was recently announced that for Noche UFC, the UFC will have its first title partner, Riyadh Season. What were some of the factors that compelled the UFC to do this?
I spent $17 million on production, and it's not even September yet.
But just one more on that note. I know it's something you've traditionally been very much against, but what, if anything, could Riyadh Season do to compel you to cross-promote? Obviously, there's that Francis Ngannou fight that you think is not going to happen. But is there anything Riyadh could do to maybe twist your arm on that?
Well, I actually respect Shake Turkey. He's a nice guy. And we have actually formed a relationship over the last couple of months. I respect what he's done with boxing. This is the only guy that could ever pull this off, making these big fights. And the fight was good. It was a good, entertaining fight. You didn't have guys that went in there and tried to avoid a fight so they could try to hopefully get to the next big payday. I think that what this guy's done in a short amount of time is pretty incredible. So we're obviously talking about lots of different options with this.
Luke, it kind of sounded like he wasn't fully against the idea of co-promoting and bringing in Ngannou to fight Jones, right?
Shake turkey is what I do when I pull it out of the thing before I put it on my sandwich.
If I would have done this with that would have been racist, right? That
I know, it's a little much, but...
seriously, though, did it make it seem like the door was open a little? Like, basically, like, hey,
he didn't comment on it, so it's hard to know, but I'll say this, people, because I don't really know what... I don't know what Turki Al-Sheikh can do in MMA as long as UFC just retains ultimate control.
Sure.
But if they can get him to fucking co-promote, wow.
If they can get him to basically say, like, forget what we're paying the fighters. Here's what we're paying you to put on this event in the UFC. Like,
if he can pull off co-promotion with the UFC, I will. I don't think I'll be honest. I don't think he can. But if he can do it, holy shit, that would be amazing.
Vadummy couldn't do that. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? Do you remember when Scott Coker took a shit on Vadummy?
Yes.
Like when we did the pandemic shows? That was amazing.
All right, Bruce Buffer's jackets were out of control. This one looks a lot like my paintings, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly horrendous. But he loves it.
All right, to the winner go the spoils. Poatan's KO victory got him a yellow belt from Kayla Harrison.
In judo, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Did he do any judo moves during this fight?
He did. I don't know if it was like an Uchimata or it was Harai Goshi. He did one of sort of the basic judo throws that she had taught him, and so this is kind of like a running bit.
Did you see that Poliana Viana and him broke up, and then she wore that T-shirt to the fights that said, "I'm his favorite ex"?
Yeah, you might as well just wear a shirt that says, "I'm not over him," because that's what it screams.
All right, let's go to WWE SmackDown. How about 58-year-old Paul Heyman? Still willing to take huge bumps to sell the storyline, Luke. What do you think of this? I mean, that's Carney for life, right?
Are they about to have sex?
No. It just looks very north-south. There you go. Wow. I mean, that's not nothing, right?
Bro, can you imagine how bad like having his crotch in your face must be?
Oh boy. Do you think he has shut down a Tokyo bathroom worse than Big John?
It's like CB4, sweat from my balls. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I got a power slap leftover for you. Here's Charlie Allnart describing how Paige Van Zandt trained for her debut.
So Austin Turpin has been helping to train and to guide her. On top of that, also her husband has been getting involved. She says what he's been doing is he's been whacking her literally as hard as he can in their backyard with pool noodles. So I guess that's a little bit of extra prep, if you will. But Van Zandt says she knows exactly what she brings to the table. In her words, I am a gangster. I am ready to take over and have...
Yeah, it's just the dumbest shit.
So that gangster won, but pool noodles in
Dude,
the
this is the best
backyard.
thing. He kept saying, did you see he said Power Slap was going to be bigger than UFC? And it's like, first of all, it won't be. But more than that, it's like, even if it was, it would be the fucking biggest indictment on planet Earth about people's palate for combat sports.
Hey, guess who got sent to hell? Chimaev by Robert Whitaker.
I will say, like, it says, see you soon. It's like, where? You can't get into any country.
Country.
Where you going to see me, bro?
Middle East. The Middle East, and that's it.
Yeah, when I'm in the area, right?
Yeah.
It's so yeah, that's tricky to start with. But, mate, I'm a middleweight. I don't pick my fights. If that's a fight the UFC wants and still are interested in making, and
yeah, he can't get into other nations. That's a problem.
That's a great thing.
Luke, Phillies and Mets legend Lenny Dykstra still out here making inappropriate comments in front of women.
Definite would. No doubt about it. A definite would. Okay?
He sounds sober.
Now, when he's saying definite would, is he saying W-O-O-D, like his rod, or W-O-U-L-D, these ladies?
Maybe he was talking about the Alice in Chains song, Would. Question mark.
All right. Hey, let's go to the T-ball
Into the
field.
Flood again.
Yeah, that's a great song. Luke, I don't assume Tukes gets like this after she puts the ball in play, but somebody's got to teach this kid some manners. You know what I mean? That's just something, right?
Yo, fuck these kids.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get fun here. Let's go to a fail. We got a fail. Watch this.
Oh, I see these idiots pop wheelies on the highway.
You got to take turns.
Are they wearing helmets? Yeah. Suck a fucking.
Oh, wow.
Eat all the fucking ass of the world. You fucking morons. Fuck you.
Hey, overheard at NBA games. Let's listen in.
Can't hear shit.
Yeah, that kind of ruined the bit. The announcer said, Luke, Jordan Clarkson almost came in my lap.
That's a lot.
There we go. Okay. Hey, remember that time Chef Kaz showed up to our Three Goat Margarita show wearing nothing but light bulbs on his body? Luke, remember that time they were like vibrating? And
he's definitely not weird, you know?
Kaz needs to step up his bulb game. Hey, Kaz. AJ's out here being like, tell me how my ass tastes. Look at this.
So you know what's amazing about this is I saw Dr. Mike Israetel talking about it. Not only does cupping not work, cupping proponents can't even offer what its physiological mechanism is supposed to be that makes it work. There is no research indicating that it works at all. It is complete junk science, and this fucking doofus is covered in this shit.
Hey, he stayed in a room without oxygen or light for 4 days and then knocked 2 people out. So I would hold that. Okay.
Dumps.
Let's listen in on this man looking at San Antonio fast food options.
Hey man, y'all want to go to Suck It? Nah, I'm gonna go to the Jerk Shack instead.
These are real places, by the way.
Dude, Texas is something else.
All right, Luke, you mentioned that there was a feat done in a weightlifting competition by this young lady that was ballsy.
Yeah, so she hits the clean here, and then her finger dislocates. She holds it. She still keeps it racked. She puts her fucking finger back in while keeping the weight racked. Recaptures the grip, and then hits the overhead jerk like this.
Oh.
And this is at Nationals. That is so fucking baller. I cannot I mean, it's incredible that she pulled that off.
Well, that's not the only jerk we have. Let's go to this guy with the champagne bottle, right? Yeah. You got to watch where you aim that thing. You know what I mean, Luke?
Oh, someone's about to get that.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Hey, let's go to a concert in the whites. Let's see what they're into, Luke. You ever watch someone try to crowd dive? And then everyone's like, wait, we didn't sign up for this?
Yeah, I actually did see this one time. Bah, bitch.
Oh, damn.
I saw someone do this. One time when I was 15, I went to a Collective Soul concert.
Oh, my God.
And I saw someone do this, and they fucking cracked their head on the pavement.
Yeah. Let's go to Top Rank Boxing from Miami, the co-main event, Robesi Ramirez of Cuba. Watch this uppercut KO finish. Oh, did you see that quick left hand come?
The uppercut from fucking hell on that one.
He's fun, man. He was in that War Fight of the Year when he lost to Rafael Espinosa last year.
Yes.
And this was his sort of continued comeback, and he looked good. I think we've got a replay at the end of this clip, which was just baller. It was just baller.
Taking forever. Here we go. Steps off, moves over, boom, son. Crushes him.
All right. Glizzy time. Oh, here's the angle we were looking for. Look at this.
Oh.
Damn. Glizzy time to finish out. Here's our T-shirt of the week, Luke. What do you think about me in this for this week?
It's not the 4th of July until my wiener comes out.
That's classy. Also, Luke, let's go over to this genius idea, the toilet cooker.
Did you know that if you run hot water to your toilet, you can have a permanent hot dog bubbler and have yourself a slippery little snack any time of day? Eating dogs and dropping logs, baby.
You know, I might have tried this in my single days in my apartment.
I don't know who this guy is, but if he was ever arrested for like having a dead body in his backyard or like being a child predator, I would not be surprised, you know?
Okay, was this baller or lame? In my first apartment, I once set up a tiny TV with Sega Genesis so I could play NHL 94 while I take dumps.
That's baller.
That's
baller.
Yeah. It was hard with the extension cords to keep that going.
We're going to be late for our fucking train.
Yeah, we're almost out of here. Here's your Glizzy tat of the week. I'm sure you do. Also, Luke, here's your white chick of the week.
You and you're like, yeah, shit, this hurts so much, yeah. But you have to. This is what life is about. It's just about me, like
I'm sure she's fun at parties.
I look like Joe Biden. Like,
All right.
Someone throw her off the fucking balcony, please.
Watch this bull on parade here.
Ooh. Dude. Oh, shit!
Oh, wow.
Dude, those motherfuckers, I mean, I realize I'm not saying anything interesting by saying they're strong, but I just don't think people realize how strong.
Look at him just flip this
Dude,
old
like
lady.
it's nothing. And dude,
Oh.
he juggles her for a little bit.
And finally, Luke, your
Holy
American of the week. This comes from Los Angeles.
You know, they got a homeless problem out there in Los Angeles, if I do say so myself, BC.
Yeah, that's interesting here. What a weird episode, Luke. What a weird batch of shit, but that's all I got for this week.
You're out tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to Anaheim, California for Last Man Standing. Diaz, Masvidal 2. You can purchase the pay-per-view over at fanmeo.com/PPV.
I probably won't. I probably won't watch it. We'll see.
Check me out. Check me out on that. It's going to be a fun event.
All right.
Danny Jacobs is back. I don't think you care, but
I don't. Yeah.
All right. Chris
he had
Avila.
a good fight against Canelo Alvarez. So
Chris Avila's back.
Sweet.
All right. That's it. I don't care.
All right.
anymore.
Hey, let's remind everyone we're on the socials. You can put up the graphic there. You can follow us all the different places. Of course, morningcombat.store for all of the merch and everything else. Don't forget our email, morningcombat@gmail.com. Are we going to try to do something on Friday?
Yeah. Are we going to do a bonus thing or no bonus
I
thing?
think we're going to try to, but with your schedule, we have to see how that goes. So the answer is we're trying to, but we'll have to play it by ear a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to our folks in the back, Gilbert Burns. We appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Shouts to Gilbert.
And that's it. We enjoyed this. We're out of here, though.
Bye.
Yeah, that's about it.